my man. First one in the chat. And I appreciate that, my friend. We are actually, to be honest, I don't have nothing new to stream. So I definitely have some stuff to show you. Good morning, man. I hope you're doing good, brother. I am still trying to use this vertical and landscape mode to try to bring you guys a better picture for some things because I think there's some benefits to portrait mode and there's some benefits to the vertical mode as well. But I'm trying to bring both of them at the same time, see which one works better. I know a lot of my haters were already missing me, but here we are. Let's see. Did you get a notification, my friend? I'm still, people are still not getting notifications for some reason. All right, so that's that one. Huh. Okay. So, hey, guys, good morning. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for coming in and hitting the like button. Uh, there is still a lot. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, time. I see you on there. Now I see a lot of people on the vertical stream, but man, I saw you on the landscape one. All right, I guess I'll try to read the comments. Wedo is here, was waiting for me so he can hate on. Getting tired of YouTube not notifying me. I have to search daily to see you live. I know, brother. Sorry about that. Robert, yes, I got notification. Says Wedo says I have to have my shot of coffee. Yeah. So my coffee today was a one big scoop of white coffee and then two big scoops of dark coffee. Now the dark coffee is just for the flavor, but the white coffee that is actually beneficial. I guess it's supposed to be good for you. So I hope you guys are doing you're doing good. I see my man is doing both. He says it's doing both. I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna be easy for me to look at both. So if you guys, whichever one you guys prefer, you can be on either one. Just know right off the bat, I'm gonna try to look at as many comments as I can. And I know you guys, my subscribers and members, you guys already know that the best way for me to see your comments is by doing super chats. You don't have to go all expensive or anything. Okay. All I ask is if you're going to demand that I answer your comments right away, you got to pay the piper. Now, if you're going to allow me to just have a moment and to for me to actually catch up and see your comment, read it off, I appreciate your patience. Okay, you don't have to do super chats, but it does help when people are patient with me. If you're watching on the mobile phone, why don't you go ahead and double tap that? Thank you guys for liking the video already. We haven't even started doing anything yet, and you guys are already liking. I appreciate that. I really want to start off with giving you an update. Now, I know you guys don't watch Spanish news, but I am going to show you this clip here. Well, you guys won't be able. Let me see if they have it. If they have subbing on it. There is no subbing, but I will tell you what this is about. Okay. Now, first news, international news. Here we go. Put that on the big screen. Now, this is obviously it's a Spanish channel, right? Another person trying to get some documents out there and information to people. You guys don't know this, and a lot of people don't agree with the way Trump is doing things. The whole, peace to strength thing. You guys don't, some people don't like it that Trump uh, is doing what he's doing with his boats. Now, this picture right here is just I'm gonna go ahead and play something, but not with the audio. I already know what this is. You guys already know that these people are landing in Venezuela, right? Now, this has been a couple of days ago. It's already passed. Now, what's happening is because President Donald Trump, it's showing the world that we are no longer just a Department of Defense and a defensive country. They know that we're a Department of War and we are a country that is going to bring peace through strength, meaning that we're not going to back down from fights that are worth fighting, so to speak. And what's happening is here, a lot of people, even today, right, even now, they are still trying to say negative things about President Trump and this and that with, our Navy out there and all this other stuff. Well, the president from Venezuela, oh, sorry about that. I didn't know I had my profile. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I don't like commercials. Um, Let me get logged in here really quick. Sorry about that. Let me get logged in so that I can show you without commercials. There you go. Sorry about the booty slapping there on those cartoons. 90 points. How dare she step over him? Anyways, so people were getting mad and talking bad about President Trump, going through to Venezuela, right? Some of us already know that there is actually good Venezuelan people out there, and what I mean by that is, a country that is wanting to have peace, have a trading relationship, be able to help their country financially, right? Economy going up, all that stuff, and they're willing to be friends with us, tells me that is good people. Now, the good people in Venezuela, you guys already know, they're being controlled by a regime, by Nicolas Maduro. Now, Nicolas Maduro, just so you guys know, he is known for talking bad about leaders that fight for the people. See, he believes that a leader needs to control the way people think, the way people act. And that's a dictator. We don't like that. We don't agree with that. And so, we are in this mindset of, okay, are we doing something right by going to Venezuela, or are we wrong? Well, let's just say this: Nicolas Maduro has said a bunch of stuff against Nayib Bukele because of how he has controlled the Salvadorian country, and now they have peace. Now, with that being said, Venezuela, just so that you guys have some background on it. If you are new to my channel, thank you for visiting. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I will appreciate that as well. Let me put my stream boss, that one. Sorry about that. Let me put my stream boss health bar up there so that you guys know. Every time somebody subscribes, my health goes down, and eventually somebody else will become the stream boss so that you get to have your name up there for a while. So socialism, it is an idea that if you have noticed, okay, we the people, world peace, let's go. If you have noticed, there is a lot, there is old people that believe socialism works, even though we have seen it throughout history today that socialism doesn't work. It turns into communism, and then people lose their freedoms. Just ask the Cubans. But here's the thing. We have new generations. We have young people. They don't know what the hell is going on in this world. Education is failing our country. There's no doubt. Education is failing our country. We keep pouring billions of dollars into education, and we got the stupidest people in this generation. Now, I don't mean you guys or your kids. Maybe everything is perfect with you guys. But what I'm saying is this. Mandami, the new communist in New York, most of the voters, 85% of the young voters were females. That tells you something right there. These females are just thinking, oh, he's cute. Let's not deny it. That's what they say. It is what it is. There's a lot of people that vote, specifically women, and I don't mean to be degrading, But a lot of women vote with emotions. A lot of effeminate men think with emotions. Not everybody wants to think with common sense. Not everybody wants to make sure that something is right. They just go with the flow. I mean, you have how many men you have out there trying to convince people that being a biological man, you can still call yourself a woman. Today, I can't believe with all the science, with all the knowledge, with all the, evolution that has happened in our world, that we have people specifically in leadership of this country thinking that's okay. And it's not okay. Let me get here. Don't care about these guys. All right, so this whole video here, I know you guys won't understand that, so let me take that out of the way. You have to understand something. We cannot get rid of our common sense. We cannot get rid of the knowledge that we have acquired so far in life. I will expect that older people will know better than that. Unfortunately, we do have a mental health crisis in the United States of America. And that can cause people to mislead or misguide our country into doom. Thankfully, President Trump, the administration, has come into our help. They're doing a great job. Now, don't get sidetracked. I know some people out there, they still are looking into this Epstein files. There is those Republicans that because the Epstein files hasn't been released, they stop supporting Trump. I understand that. But you guys are very stupid if you're doing that because of the Epstein files. Let me tell you something, just right off the bat, so you guys stop thinking about theories and all this stuff. Epstein and President Donald Trump, they were best friends at some point, some say. Okay? There was some bad stuff happening. Let's not deny that President Donald Trump was a playboy. He was a lot into women. He was all into the whole entertainment business. Now, all of you moral police out there, you guys don't say nothing against pornography. You guys don't say anything about having sex before marriage. You guys don't say anything about killing babies in the womb because you want to keep having sex. You guys don't say anything about those things, so I don't want to hear jack squat about Epstein files. Do I care? Sure. But right now is not the time. Stop being distracted or sidetracked with things that are not as important as making our country safe, protected, and prosperous. We need to get those things in order first. We need to get rid of illegal immigration. You guys already know this. We need to have priorities straight. Forget about the Epstein files. Is his name on the list? Sure. Are they going to still try to put stuff on Trump? Sure. That's going to happen. But let's not forget that Trump and him were friends. Yes, there's going to be a lot of backing in there. I'm sure they did a lot of, orgasm. Who knows? A lot of stuff, right, on the side. Who cares? Most of Americans did it. They don't care. They do worse things themselves. That's not the point. The point is, President Trump cut ties with this guy. He didn't like the way he was doing some things. He didn't like how things were happening here and there, so he cut ties, period. He said, oh, wait a minute. I'm on the wild side, but you went too far. I don't play that game. So he cut off ties. Now, Epstein doesn't like President Trump because he cheated him out of a deal with real estate. There's a lot of bad blood there. And when you have a lot of bad blood, sometimes people will come and make a theory, trying to make you look guilty about something, just so that your name is smeared. Democrats are very famous with these tactics of smearing other people's images, even if they are falsely accusing somebody. So with that being said, forget about the Epstein files. If you're a patriot, continue to support this country. Stop freaking worrying about theories and science fiction novels that you want to see somebody be guilty for something. Just let it happen. It will happen. But that's not important right now. We're going back to Venezuela. I believe it's about 18 boats by now has been destroyed. Now, people argue, oh, well, hey, you know what? That was not in the Venezuela water. Oh, that was not this and that. It's, you have to remember, if you guys know where Puerto Rico is, Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States of America. This is why we're allowed down on that side. Now, we're navigating on free waters, international waters, I guess anybody can navigate. These boats that are being destroyed come with drugs, full of drugs. And so there's no more warning. No, there's no more arresting. They need to know we ain't playing that game. Just like a lot of people here say, oh, give the illegal immigrants due process. Yeah, well, they got their due process. You just don't want to let it happen. Again, due process is not going to allow illegal immigrants to stay in this country. It really, all it's going to do is waste money. But I get it. Due process, I get it. I get it. I get it. Give them due process. Go to court. Find out if this is real, if this is legit. Are the people supposed to be here? No? Okay, deport. Most people that go to court with their due process, they come out of court with immediate deportation status. Like they got to leave, but they stay here. Why? Because corrupted lawyers and all these stupid human right people, they think that legal migration should be a human right. It's not a human right. No, we got borders. Things have changed. There's the law of the land. The government this, the government that. We got to maintain control of our border. Not everybody loves the United States of America. Many people, thousands, millions of people do not want the United States to stay healthy, to stay prosperous. Right now, a lot of people don't see the damage that they're causing because we have been so prosperous. We have been doing so good for so long, people don't know that we are actually at risk of losing everything. So I agree. We need to be down there. Now, I tell you all of this because there's so much to unpack. Everybody's all over the place. I got people talking about Epstein, people accusing me of protecting pedophiles. And then I know the same people support the LGBTQ that also supports pedophiles and all this transgenderism. They support mutilating your body. They're demonic. They're evil. They're satanical. There's no other way to put it. That's the way to put it. Ya tú sabes. Good morning. I see you. So now, I told you about Venezuela. I told you about Nicolás Maduro. What he's been saying. Excuse me. Woo! Excuse me. Sorry about that. Nicolás Maduro is hard on Nayib Bukele because he's doing a great job for his country and he's fighting against drugs. Nicolás Maduro has been talking a lot of smack, a lot of crap about our President Donald Trump, about how he's going to take him out, etc., blah, blah, blah. He's been making threats and all this other stuff. What he doesn't know is that we are a lot more powerful than he thinks. See, he's used to the soft leftist mentality. We don't play that way. We truly believe on peace through strength. We are not cowards. We will fight for our country, for our freedom. And if that means getting rid of this cartel drug dealers, that's exactly what we're going to do. So after all of that, you guys show a little preview of the video and you see all these people. So here, Nicolás Maduro has done this. He has imprisoned his political opponents. He has killed many of his political opponents. Okay? And he's been getting away with it. Why? Because the leftist people, the left-wing leaning people, oh, the emotional side, you got to have compassion and empathy and sympathy. You cannot do that with criminals. You got to be tough on them. You know who you can empathize with? You know who you can be soft with? With people that make a mistake. Oh my God, I didn't know. It's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll make it right. You know who you are not soft on? You think that's a mistake? No. That is exactly what I wanted to do because I do this and I do that. Well, you know what? I got no sympathy for you. So guess what? You commit the crime, you're going to do the time. Think logically. You can't always just think emotionally. Not everybody responds to the soft touch, the soft talk. Sometimes you gotta yell, you gotta raise your voice, you gotta be stern, you gotta be strict, disciplined until they learn. You see, there's a lot of people, a lot of us. We grow up for such a long time, right? Without getting a spanking. Now, that's not my case. I used to get whooped all the time. You guys, know the story. Bad blood with my older brother. I'm the last one. Blah 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 blah. Another story for another time. But a lot of kids, like for example, I'll give you my kids. My kids, I don't spank my kids. Do I? I do when I have to. But I can tell you, years and years go by, and my kids don't get spankings. Recently, about a couple of weeks ago, if not a week ago, my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, got a spanking. And she's going to get a spanking if she misbehaves again. But years and years go by. Now, I always have a very tough voice, and I am, I'm the tough guy. I'm the tough man in the house only because I have to be, okay? I don't like violence, but sometimes you have to get violent in order to be able to fight for what you need to fight for. And hopefully what you're fighting for is righteousness and justice and the intentions for a better future tomorrow. And that's exactly what I do with my children. I love my kids, but they misbehave, they're going to get punished. That's just how it goes. Now, with that being said, they're not perfect. They're still going to make mistakes. But I can tell you, when somebody plans to do something evil, that is not a mistake. That is not a mistake. If, for example, and I'll get back to Venezuela because there is a point that I want to make there. For example, with these wars, right, in the 90s, the Gulf War, all this stuff, this whole weapons of mass destruction bullcrap that they fed us, right? This is the problem about legacy media. They get a little smear of something and they run with it like it's the truth, and then they make us fight. They make us look like the bad people, right? I'm not going to say that they don't have good reporters. Yeah, sure, of course. They got the skills, they got the talent. But unfortunately, they don't have the wisdom to make the right decisions. Now, is anybody ever going to be perfect? Of course not. Nobody's perfect. But that's the reason why we got to think with common sense. We got to make sure that we're trying to make the right decisions. So here we go. Back to Venezuela. So this guy has been threatening President Trump, has been threatening everybody and their mama, that is doing the right thing, is fighting against drugs and everything. And Nicolas Maduro decides that he's going to train a new militia. Not an army, not a military, powerful force to be reckoned with. These guys haven't had to have any wars with a powerful country. They always have wars with rebels, with lower caliber fighters. Good morning, man. Good morning, Paul. I see you. You know what? Let me take a moment here. Let me see who's on here, and let me say hi to you guys first. Saltwater, I see you. Good morning. Oh, my haters are here. Dirty Money, what's up? Let's see. Who else do we have in here? Guys, I can't go through too far back. Good morning, my patrons, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys' support. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the love, number one, because you guys are amazing, and I appreciate you. All right, I got to have one of these on because I can't hear. I don't like to hear the feedback when I'm talking, so there we go. All right. All right, so Nicolas Maduro, after making all those threats, right, now he was forced. You guys saw this about a month or two ago. You saw that he was training old people, 70s. Now, I get it. A lot of patriots in here are probably the same way. If it comes to war, they'll be more than happy to take arms. But let's be honest. I, myself, I cannot do what this fit Marines and soldiers can do, jumping over obstacles and sprinting and carrying all these heavy loads and the accuracy and shooting and all this other stuff. I don't have that. But if it came to defending this country, I will do my best, and we will be out there defending this country. But he is not defending his country. Nicolas Maduro is trying to defend himself. Now let's not kid ourselves. The guy is a drug dealer. He's a drug lord, and he's making a lot of money off it. So what happens now? Now he's starting to see, boom, 18 boats, 18 boats, and I will say with 3, 4, sometimes 5 motor engines on a boat. Not sure why you need so many, but the fact is they're trying to be fast and they think they can outrun missiles. That's not going to happen. We have a lot of intel on the ground. We have a lot of intel from our Navy ships, our surveillance over the air, etc. So now Nicolas Maduro is between the wall and the sword. He don't know where to go. He's starting to be afraid. Now he's starting to see that the United States of America is not playing. We mean business. And that is what the world has to see in order for them to respect us. You have to understand this. Nobody respects a weak person. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. I'd rather be next to a bully that has been bullying me and all these weaklings have not been able to defend me. I'd rather stand with the bully because everybody else is just going to be destroyed. Now, I'm not saying that's where I fit because I used to fight bullies. I didn't like bullies in high school, and I make sure that I stood up for the little ones. But the point is, in my life experience, I had to be tough against bullies. Otherwise, they would have bullied me and everybody else around me. It is because of people that think that the weaker need to be defended and protected that we have the country that we have today. Lucky for us, we have a lot of patriots. They fight for this country. Some people sign up for the military because of the money, because of the benefits. But to those people that sign up because they are very patriotic and they love this nation and they want to fight to defend it, that's the kind of people that make our country tough and go around. Well, Güero, unfortunately for you, see, you think that the USA is a bully. But what you fail to understand is that all these countries around us have been bullying us. We're you know what these other countries are like? It's like the little guy with the mouth. Hey, F you, blah, blah, blah. And you're yelling, and the big guy is just like, hey, listen, man, I don't want to have to slap you across the floor. Just stop it. You know what? Eventually, that big guy is going to slap the sense out of you, okay? And that's exactly what we're doing. We're sick and tired of getting poked at, being attacked, being looked like the losers, being told what to do. No more. Peace through strength. And that's exactly what that means. Cowards, weaklings are not going to defend this country. We need tough, courageous, and people that use common sense instead of emotional ideas. So now Nicolas Maduro says, hey, President Trump, I give up. I'll let you have the country. I just want to have safe passage, and I want the bounty off my head. He's starting to feel the pressure. You know when he didn't feel the pressure? When you weaklings like Güero here don't do anything to help the country. The mentality of a weak fighter, it's always going to be a loser. But the mentality of a strong fighter, it's always going to have the upper hand in a fight. And well, President Donald Trump has put the right person to lead the Department of War. Pete Hegseth has been doing a tremendous job. And I think we might have to watch something from Pete Hegseth just because I said that. Now, with that being said, we have a lot of tough guys, a lot of tough people in our country. Wait. Did you just call me a bitch? What? Güero, you can't take it? Eres perra, cabrón. Hey, for all you American friends, I want you to learn this word. Perra. If you don't know how to say perra, just say güero, okay? He's in the chat. Don't worry about him. Oh, man. It is what it is. But you know what? I was watching the debate that we had over here a couple of years ago. Well, about a year, yeah, about a year ago, and I was watching the governor's debate, and we had a great contender. He was a Republican, retiree sheriff, I think it was, and there was so much potential there, but he unfortunately didn't know how to speak, and he did make some good points, but he didn't know how to speak because he wasn't really speaking from the heart. He was speaking from just emotional damage, as they say. Like for example, I I understand that raising taxes on people all the time is devastating. It's horrible. But you can't just look at the situation and say, oh, you know what, raising taxes is horrible. You got to understand why. What's going on? Why do we need to keep raising taxes? Now, the guy just didn't know how to defend himself against this guy who has been an attorney, for years. He knows how to lie. He knows how to manipulate the law. And I know that these are the things that I'm going to have to deal with if I ever go run against him. But I can tell you right now, I'm going to eat him alive on stage. He is not going to keep taking advantage of Washingtonians. There is a lot of things that the government is wasting money on, and I want to get to the bottom of it. Number one, you guys already know. I believe in audits. I believe on investigations. I believe the government should be held accountable for. There's a friend of mine, one of my members that is in my subscribers list. He is a member, and he gives me advice about running for governor and campaigning and all this other stuff. And he tells me that because I will be on the Republican side, that they will try to audit me and question me 10 times more than the other Democratic candidates. And I said, do it. I want that. That's exactly what I want. I want them to come hard on me. Let's go. I want that. Let's go. Because the fact is that they can have all these things on me. And the one thing people don't understand is everything that I tell you is from my heart, is honest. What I believe and what I've seen in the back, in the present, and in the front of what's going to happen. Okay? I'm not saying that these guys have all the tools to do the job, but they got to be honest with the people and say, hey, listen, I want to fix the roads by your neighborhood, but we just don't have that money. We got to figure out where is the money going. So we need to have audits. And once we have an audit and where all this money is being tracked to, then we can make a decision and say, this project doesn't go. That project doesn't go. This project, cancel. What do we need? What we need? We need investments. We need corporations. We need companies to come back to Seattle. I want big corporations to come back. We need you. We'll give you tax cuts. We'll give you tax breaks. We will appreciate you for all the jobs that you're going to bring into our town. We are going to try to monitor price gouging. Why are there price gouging? Well, you got a lot of homeless on the street. The homeless situation is probably one of the hardest things to look at. We already working internationally, like I said, in Venezuela. The guy is trying to surrender. He's trying to find a way. No, it's not going to be that easy. You're not going to get, you're going to be destroyed or you're going to be in jail for the rest of your life. And then Venezuela can have the freedom of their people, have the righteous leader be up there leading the country, fighting for the people, not for themselves. All right, that's Venezuela. Here in the United States of America, we got to take it one step at a time. Right now, I believe she won. I don't know. She was very close to winning. But there is two candidates, okay? The first candidate for mayor here in Seattle, Washington, the first candidate for mayor, of course he has experience with, with the department, and of course he can bring examples of what has been done, blah, blah, but it hasn't worked. It has failed. And that's the problem. So other candidates, they don't know how to fight that. I get it. But then we have the opposition, which is actually winning, or probably won by now. You can tell she is an emotional wreck. An emotional wreck. Whenever the mayor, the current mayor, says anything against her, her eyes, oh my God, like she wants to explode. And it's not like an explosion like, oh, you know what? You want to talk bad about me? I got something. No, it's not that. It's more like, oh my God, he's offending me. He's hurting my feelings. And she is just one step away from having an anxiety attack. Has no solutions. Has no experience. It's like Mankami in New York. Just the same example. It is ridiculous that these are the people that are coming into power, into government, and they wonder why the state keeps going down. They wonder why tourism is down in Washington. Washington is a very beautiful state, but people don't want to walk around where all these homeless are in downtown Seattle. They all say that they're going to address the issue of the homeless. It's very tough. This socialist lady that is about to win mayor in Seattle, she thinks that the best idea, peep this, if you go into your downtown and you see all these homeless tents and all this other stuff, what are they doing there? They're doing drugs. And what is the solution for this person? She said, oh, these homeless are sleeping under the sky. We need to make housing. We need to get mini houses for them. You mean more private shelters for them to do their criminal activities and their drugs? It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. There has to be some sort of plan to say we are going to allocate some funds so that we can build a big housing building. I understand that. I get it. I do get that. But there has to be more than just that, because you don't want to just house the homeless, because there will still be the homeless mentality. If they're drug addicts, they're going to continue being drug addicts. So Seattle believes that the one way to clean people is to give them controlled doses of crack, heroin, and whatever other drug they do. See, they decriminalize using fentanyl. That's the government's fault. That's right. And so when I hear people saying, well, they're not going to stop, they're going to continue doing drugs. Well, it's a big fight. It's a big fight. And I'm going to tell you something. If you guys are hating President Trump, you are gullible. You are more disposable to being lied to. You're prone to be lied to. And you're going to believe those lies. Just like that speech from January 6th, right? President Trump says, we are going to march down there and we're going to fight like hell. You guys remember that, right? Yeah, well, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said that we're going to go down there and then we're going to go ahead and support. That's what he said, support. Support them. And BBC flipped and edited that video, and the whole country hated President Trump, said he was guilty. It's what they do. They create a smear, or they create a hate lie, like this Epstein files. CNN is bringing up some bullshit emails that are coming out that has nothing to do with Trump. It's other people. You know how easy it is to manipulate emails? It's very easy. You can change timestamps. You can do all that stuff. We're not stupid. You're going to tell me that on the first investigation, none of these emails were available. Nobody found out anything. But now that Trump is on his second term, all of a sudden, all this Epstein file thing, oh my God, yeah. Well, they released it before, but we didn't see it. Well, now they release it again. Now we see it. Very convenient, isn't it? Very convenient that now they're starting to fabricate things to have Trump's name being mentioned. See, that's why I don't pay attention to it. That's why I don't care about it. I know his name is probably in there. They were friends, for Pete's sakes. Don't play stupid, but don't play into this theory. There's bullcrap. This whole fear mongering that they do all the time. This is their tactic. Their tactics is to smear and lie about Trump and then give the information to the legacy media, which obviously hates Trump. And then they do a press conference and they say something to the public. The public is like, yeah, that's bullcrap. No, look, Seattle Times, the New York Times, the LA Times, all the times and times and times, they say the same thing. Yeah, that's right, bitch, because you gave it to them. You gave them that knowledge, that fake information. You leaked it to them. We hear about this all the time. This information was leaked. This information was leaked. And I wonder who that leaked information benefits. Right? Thank you, Dennis, for at least trying to educate the anti-American, anti-Trump loons. Scott, we got to do what we got to do. Hey, guys, I apologize for the comments. I am sorry. I love you guys. Thank you for your support. I know you guys do a great job on the chat anyway, giving some truth. I'm not going to go into what you guys are talking about because it doesn't seem like that. Let me see. Did they fabricate you not paying child support? Yes, Cameron. As a matter of fact, that is a bullshit story that you just said. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The leftist people, the crazy loons that we have roaming around like zombies in our country, they like to spread lies. I paid 22 and a half years I paid child support. That's right. I started paying child support since I was 19 years old. That is crazy. 19 years old paying child support. Now, let me tell you what that does to somebody. Number one, the system was very unfair against men. Women got all the benefit. Men got screwed. Let me tell you why. I'm going to skip the first year of it because it doesn't matter. I took care of my child. I looked over my child. I paid for everything for my child. And I still got slapped with $5,500 of back child support pay, which was bullshit because I was raising my child myself. But skip forward. It doesn't matter. Paid 22 and a half years. I paid child support. 50% of my check caused me to go homeless for many, many months. It doesn't matter. I still kept working full time. I still kept paying child support. I went through a very rough time. Moved back to Honduras. I was depressed. I felt irresponsible. The burden was so heavy on my shoulders. In my heart, I couldn't breathe. The darkest depression that I have ever felt in my life. God took away that from me. I made a commitment. I didn't have to come back. I wasn't a citizen. I was just a resident. And I said the right thing to do is to be responsible. I need to go back to the States. I need to pay child support. One day my children will be proud of me. And that's all I fight for. I fight for this country to be proud of me. That's where my story starts. I came back and I paid child support until I didn't have to pay anymore. And my kids are all grown up. The only two I have are my now recent 16 years old is my boy. He turned 16 on the 10th of this month, so just 2 days ago. And then my daughter, who is 12. She'll be turning 13 here in a few months. Those I am taking care of with my wife. There is no child support for these two because I actually have the right woman next to me. And if she decided to get rid of me, it's okay. That will be her choice. But she's a great woman. She's a great mother. I think she's a good wife. And she has my back. And the more she supports me, the more manly I feel, just so in case you were wondering. So to have that support, it makes me feel good. But the most important thing is that I have God, and God watches over me and my family. And I need to fight with the truth. It doesn't matter how many people come in here and try to smear my name and try to put me down with this. There is nothing that I ever hide from anybody. When I go running for office, everybody's going to know everything about me. Now, they like to make comments about my saggy face and this ugly mustache and the hairline and all these other I don't care about that. What I care is about what's inside here. This is what matters. It doesn't matter if I look ugly to you. If I am fighting for justice, just allow me to fight for justice. Allow me to try to be righteous. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't support transgenderism. I don't believe in that. I think that's a mental problem, and it should be addressed. There's a lot of counseling that needs to get done, and I don't even know if that works. I don't trust counseling. It's never worked for me. But you know what? We know what has worked for me? Not counseling, love, compassion. Those are the things that I think is great. Now, if counseling does that, well, yeah, maybe that helps. But I have gotten a lot of people in my life when I've been down have been giving me a chance and hope to continue to go forward. Just like you patrons in here on my channel. You guys give me hope, and I continue to fight for justice, for righteousness, because that is the right thing to do. And you guys give me that strength. Of course, we all depend on God. He is the true strength in our life. But we still got to stand up for what we believe. And I believe that everything that we have is given to us so that we can show our true colors, as to say, do you believe in righteousness or do you believe on evil and injustice? And well, here in Washington State, we have so many useless NGOs that need to be canceled. I think that a lot of companies need to invest more here in Seattle. And, well, you know, that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to run on. I'm going to run on trying to bring businesses back into Washington State. There is a lot of land that can be used for businesses, and hopefully we can speed up the process. I don't want too many barriers for businesses to get off the ground. I think that to put a business down is very easy. It shouldn't be too hard. And we want to make sure that people have access to everything they need to have access to. You know, this whole promising faster buses and free fare, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. You got to make money. You got to make money in order for things to work. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very excited. I think that I can take this guy down on a debate. Not because I know the laws, not because I know all the finances, not because I'm an expert on everything, but because I use common sense and I'm honest on everything that I say. That is the simple reason why I think I'm going to beat him. Okay? Plus, I'm not stupid. I'm actually, let's just leave it there. I'm not stupid. I think the only thing that I have a problem with is I spilled the beans too soon, and that gives people leverage over me. But it doesn't matter. I think the truth shall set you free. And by the way, if it is God's will, you guys already know we are going to win. Now, with that being said, let me see. I have something to show you guys here. Let me see. Not you. I want to show you this right here real quick. This is on the X account. You guys have probably seen this video before. Let's take a listen at this, and I'm going to tell you why we need to fight not only international but nationally. This is a woman, I guess. 3 teenagers got shot. You guys remember this story? 3 teenagers got shot. Sorry, my hairs are itching my nose. No, I don't do drugs. 3 teenagers broke into an old man's house, and a retired veteran at that. And, you know, they blame him for shooting these 3 teenagers. The parents don't take the responsibility. They blame the old man for defending his house. And that's the problem in society. That is one of the problems that we have here in Seattle. One of the problems that we have here in Seattle is that they're soft on crime. every blue state, for some reason, I don't know why, but every blue state is like so soft on crime. If there is no real consequences to criminals, they don't care. They'll continue doing what they do. And as a matter of fact, I think the parents of those teenagers that went out there to commit this crime, that got themselves killed, I think they should do jail time. That's their parents' responsibility. And specifically, when I see them come out to their defense, where were you before they turned into criminals? That's where I'm at. All right, let's take a listen.
My son only tried to rob you, and you took his life.
My son only tried to rob you. You see how she thinks that he's going out there shopping. He only tried to rob you. How do they rob you? Excuse me, sir, can I get that wallet right there? Sir, can I get that right there, sir? You think they won't intimidate him? You think they will not try to beat him up? I got beat up by 3 adult males when I was 13 and a half. If you're an older veteran right now, you'll probably be doing the same thing this old man did. And this lady right here making an excuse that is just robbing him, she has no idea what a crime is.
That was an abuse of force, Channing. You must pay for this.
A military veteran has been charged with murder after shooting and
Charged with murder.
killing 3 teenagers who broke into his home. The parents of the teens are now demanding that the court sentence the veteran to death.
Unbelievable. The old man felt threatened in his own home, used his Second Amendment to defend himself, and killed his 3 teenagers. He don't know what's going on inside. He's freaked out. Adrenaline's pumping. Nervous, things are unsettling. On top of that, he's a veteran. You don't know if he's got PTSD or anything. You don't know if his mental health is all there. Maybe he is. But the fact is, the ones that are guilty are the ones coming into this property, breaking down the door like hardcore criminals, and that's exactly what they get. And the message should be, don't commit the crime. Look at these guys. They don't look like little kids. They look like almost adult criminals.
According to police in Georgia, the 3 masked teens showed up at the veteran's house around 3 p.m. They kicked in the front door and entered the home to rob it, unaware that the homeowner was a former soldier. The veteran opened fire as soon as they entered. One of the teens fired back, triggering a violent...
One of the teens fired back. Fired back. And he still got charged with murder?
shootout. A neighbor, startled by the gunfire, immediately called 911. When officers arrived, they found all 3 teens shot multiple times in the head and chest. Paramedics pronounced...
Don't mess with the veterans, man. Don't mess with the soldiers, man. This is, hey. Listen, I told you yesterday. Yesterday was Veterans Day. Hats off. My respects. I'm telling you right now, these soldiers are veterans. Not all of them. Some of them come back messed up and they hate us. But I support all veterans and I thank everybody for their service. But I appreciate more the patriots, the patriotic veterans. Those are the people that I defend. And shots to the head and the chest. Kill or be killed. They chose their fate when they decided to come in and rob him. I would be even, maybe, I would be even say, hey, you know what, that's excessive force. But when they fire shots at him, what do you expect? What do you guys think about that?
All 3 dead at the scene. Later, family members confirmed that among the dead were 2 brothers, ages 15 and 16. After the autopsy report...
I don't know about you. I beat up my brother when I was 15 years old, and he is 16 years older than me. So what? At 15, I was a grown adult body with my own mind and my own senses to make the actual decisions that I want to take. So that doesn't mean shit. You go and commit the crime, you got to pay the price.
Report revealed that a total of 28 bullets had been recovered from the teens' bodies. Their parents were furious, calling the homeowner's actions beyond excessive. They insisted the shooting was brutal and demanded that prosecutors charge the veteran with murder and seek the death penalty. The homeowner, however, maintains that he acted in self-defense and that his life was in immediate danger. Under Georgia's self-defense and stand your ground laws, authorities determined that his actions fell within the bounds of lawful self-defense. This
Good.
veteran once fought to defend his country. Now alone in his own home, he fought to defend himself. Do you think this was justified self-defense, or did he go too far? Share
100% justified. Let me read some of these comments. How many of you think that this was was justified? Paul says vets before illegals. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. How many people has literally heard someone chilled in the middle of Walmart yelling at their parents that if you don't get me this, I am going to report you to the child protect. Yep. Yeah, well, yeah, I have heard that, and I'm telling you, man, I have looked at people. I know they don't like it when I interact with them, but you know, yeah, I think all my patrons in here will say that it's justified. I've seen people with their kids at Walmart, and they're throwing a fit, and I just watch, and I see that the mom doesn't know how to control that kid. And she's trying to, honey, no, excuse me, I'm trying to, honey. And I just can't take that shit no more. Hey, listen to your mom. Oh, the kids get startled. If you don't listen to your mom, you're going to be in trouble. You understand? And they stop. And they listen to their mom. I'm going to keep my eye on you. You keep yelling at your mom. I'm coming back for you. You know, and they hold on to their mommy. Hold on to their mommy really tight. You got to discipline your children, man. Listen, if you're a parent, you are not their best friend. You are their parent. It is your responsibility. This woman should be over there apologizing to the old man that she failed. She failed to give her kids good advice. She failed to raise her kids right. I guarantee you she's on welfare. I guarantee that. 100% she's on SNAP. Man, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's see what's going on over here on the Department of War. Kristi Noem announces more than 150 illegal immigrant sex offenders arrested in a massive Florida crackdown. And people want to obstruct ICE. I hope that people would wake up sooner than later. You keep defending things that you don't understand. You know what I understand? What I understand is that this country is the greatest country in the world. I understand that this country is the land of opportunity. I understand that this country has the most charitable, the most charitable people on earth. I understand that a lot of people sacrifice their lives to stand up for the little guys. A lot of people do the best that they can to help other people. That's what I understand about this country. I also understand that this country helps many other countries. And that's why I have to stand and defend it at all costs. Illegal immigrants are last in the priorities of help because they fall, unfortunately, under a category of criminals. It's very unfortunate, but that's the way it is. I still have it. I got both. I'm monitoring my landscape and my monitor. Yeah, they're still going. I see it. I got two of them, so I got the vertical and the landscape mode. Sorry about that, Craig. You might have to reset that, change the page and come back to it. But if you are an American, I will expect you to understand that your country comes first, okay? Everybody in other countries put their countries first. I'm going to prove it to you. Mexicans. They're so proud of being Mexican. They are so proud of being Mexican that even when they are in this country, which is foreign to them, they raise the Mexican flag like it's the most proudest thing they ever raise. That's patriotic. They love their country, even though they run away from it. I get that. I'm from Honduras. I love Honduras, but I am a citizen of this country, and I made an oath. My loyalty belongs to the United States of America. Can I have a Honduras flag? Of course. That is the flag of the land that I was born in. But the flag that I represent is the one you see behind me. And that is the one that I am proud to defend. And many Latinos will agree with me. Of course, we love the nation where our roots were founded on. But we have to be appreciative and respect the land that we actually reside on. And so you have a lot of people, I mean, some Americans, they hate America. They'll tell you, I hate America. What the hell are you doing here? Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else that you love. Go to China. There you go. Go to China. Go to Russia. Go to India. You know? Then it's God's family, then country, my friend. Well, I understand. But you have to understand something, Cray. God is always above everything. So first, your country. God doesn't have a category. God is all. Everything depends on God. All glory to God. But here is country. All right? You have to have, for me, if you're going to put it in the standards, I do God first, family, and then country. And the reason why I put them that way is because if I put God first, I automatically love my family. If I love my family, I automatically love the country because the country is an extension of my family. And so there really are, not much different. But God is above everything, not just one thing. God is above everything. So whenever we put in that discussion, put your country first and then whatever, that's what we mean by that. Now, if you're not a Christian, if you're not a believer, then you should question that or whatever, but not for me. For me, that's what it means, okay? So let's see what else we have here. Trump is to sign the groundbreaking executive order bolstering foster care. I like that the First Lady is a lot for children, and I think that is a good partner to be with our president, as the way it should be. And by the way, Melania is such a catch. She's such a beautiful woman. She has that resting biatch face. She's a model, and but she does have a good heart for children and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty awesome. President Trump cannot do everything himself. He needs a wife that will back him in some of the things that he cannot take care of. One of the things that Obama did, okay, people say he was an excellent speaker. I don't know about that. But one of the things that Michelle Obama did the most, and what I remember the most is how much she hated white people. She was so racist. She felt afraid of white people. What kind of example are you giving the country? Instead of saying, hey, look at us. We're black. We're in the Oval Office. This country is not as racist as people think. We are a great country. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. They still played into the bull crap of systematic racism. It's in the system. It's in the government. You are the government. What are you talking about? You are the government. Thanks for subscribing. I don't understand that. Why? It's a big difference. Do you not see the difference? You don't see the difference? Thank you for subscribing. You don't see the difference of Melania versus Michelle Obama? You have, here, I'll give you my example. I am a migrant from Honduras. I came here when I was a young teenager because my mother. But I became a citizen after decades of being a resident. And I became a citizen, and I love this country. And yes, I acknowledge there's bad history. I acknowledge that all these things have happened in that country. But I also acknowledge that we have come up a long way. And I think that's special. So I support it. Look at this. I am like Melania, a migrant that came to this country, appreciates this country. Obviously, she's a billionaire. I'm not. But we love the United States of America above any other country. She's the same way. I'm the same way. And then you have Michelle Obama, who hates this country. And then you have the Americans out there that were born in this country, and they will never love this country as much as we love this country. Isn't that crazy? Why is it that a migrant will love the United States more than his actual natural born citizens? See, something doesn't click there. And I think a lot of it has to do with entitlement. A lot of it has to do with spoiled. You know, for many years, we hear, decades, hundreds of years, we hear this, oh, I'm going to spoil my grandchildren. Yeah, be careful with that. Be careful with that. It is crazy to think that I have more love for this country than people that were born in this country. And it's not really so crazy, to be honest. There is a saying that says, the grass always looks greener on the other side. Thank you. I appreciate that, Ann. And what I mean by that is, you know what? You can see what you have, and you look across, and, oh, wow, that looks very good. Oh, yeah. And then you start not appreciating what you have, right? That's like the song says, doesn't always seem to know that you don't know what you got until it's gone, right? That's how it goes. You don't know what you got till it's gone. How many times have I gone to a beautiful paradise-looking place? And you guys will agree with me, right? If you're here with me, you will agree this. When you go to, and let's say you go to Cuba, right? You go to Cuba. As a tourist, you're going to go over there, and you're going to see the beach. I don't know what the Cuban beach looks like. I don't know. But you're going to see the beach, the white sand, the warm weather. You get in the water, and the water temperature is pleasurable. It's pleasant. It pleases you. And then you're like, oh, my God, this is paradise. And then ask yourself a question. Do I want to live here? Hell no. Why would you say that? Because you know the reality is that if you live there, you just wouldn't be able to make it. You find out that there is a water problem, there is electrical problem, that there is a communist telling people what to do, what to believe, what to say, and etc. And you have no freedom. So you'll realize that, and then you can come back to the United States and be like, oh my God, I'm home. Whew, I'm glad I'm back, right? It doesn't matter how much of a good time you had outside the country, having a vacation, enjoying yourself, drinking some mojitos, some margaritas, or whatever it is that you were doing, and you always want to come back home. Why is it that you always want to come back home? Because your brain, your common sense tells you that even though that looks very nice, that's very hard life to live. And you realize that what you have here in your country, the United States of America, is a lot better. Now, you don't have to say it. I know this. I was down in Honduras one time with my sister, my little sister, she's actually 3 years older than me. But she's always my little sister because she's down on my shoulders, right? And I'm always bigger and stronger. So she is my sister, and we're at this beautiful location down in Honduras, in the Bay Islands of Honduras. Very beautiful. Oh my gosh, I can feel the temperature. I can see the turquoise color water. I can see the deep navy, dark ocean, on a very clear sky. and it's just perfect, beautiful. You even get this little breeze that comes through and cools you off a little bit. You know, she's like, "Oh my God, this is paradise. Oh, this is paradise." It really is. I would love to live here. As long as I have a way to work, I would love to live here. Maybe since it's a touristic place, maybe I can be a tourist guy. A guy. I won't make millions. I won't make hundreds of thousands, but I will make enough to buy my own food and to have my own housing. That's all I need. That's all I need. And my family, of course. That's all I want. I'm a rich man by having a roof over my head, making sure that there's always food in the house, and that we can pay electricity, etc. But that's what will make me happy. And then my sister said, "Oh hell no, I wouldn't live here." Wait, you just said it was paradise. Oh yeah, no, no, it's paradise to come and visit, but not to live. That's because people know that is a hard life. Not everybody wants to just work to have a roof over their head, food, and have the necessities, that you have. What is that? Oh, somebody said, "Hi, Dennis. I'm from Honduras also. I've always loved the United States of America as a child. I like what you're doing." Ah, thank you, Reina. I appreciate that. Catracha, I love it. Hopefully, it's a woman. uh, but yeah, I mean, Honduras is such a beautiful country. I love to live there. I know you guys don't believe me. Maybe one day I'll live there and I will make a blog and be like, "Hey, remember that time, guys? You guys didn't believe me? Boom, here I am in Honduras. God bless the USA." Uh, it's very important that we don't lose grasp of reality. There is a lot of people, because I'm very nosy, and I go and ask a lot of people. Like, for example, this last time that I was down there in July, right before I started hitting this channel hardcore, I went down there in July, and I stayed at this hotel. Now, the hotel really, it has a potential to be even better, but the way some of the employees work it just doesn't give it that extra. You know what I'm saying? Like, employees have a lot to do with how a good business is run. But anyways, I went down to the breakfast area, got me some fried beans with a couple of eggs and some fried ripe plantains, and that's my breakfast and my coffee. And I'm sitting there, and the owner of the hotel comes down there, and he's like, "Oh, how do you like the hotel?" I was like, "I think it's very nice. I love the pool, good temperature." I said, great service. But I said, but I have this problem with a little bit of the maintenance in the room. I think it's a great room. It's a big room, good price, etc. But the shower head fell on my head. I don't appreciate that. And he said, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I get it. Things get rusty. We're close by the ocean, etc." And I said, "Listen, I have one question for you." I said, "Do you think that if I move down here, do you think that I can make it?" He said, "There is 100 things that you can do here for a living. Of course you can." And I was said, "What?" That's not the answer I expected. I expected to hear, "Oh, it's tough. It's very hard. Yeah, not everybody can make it here." That's what I was expecting to hear. But he said, "Of course, there's hundreds of things that you can do here for a living." And it just like I didn't know what to say. I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wow, you just gave me hope. You just gave me a lot of hope." you know? And I'm just like, "Okay. Well, that's I guess that's what I wanted to hear." And I thought it was great. But see, here in America, you don't think that way. You think that other countries are better because well, you don't have what they have. Well, you're not always going to have everything somebody else has. They don't have what you have. They got people, good morning, Brian. They got people down there, like the illegal immigrants that come over here, okay? I went around the island, and maybe because this is a touristic place, they have more opportunities maybe to make money. They hustle and they make their money, right? But I asked them over there, I said, well, what do you think about, this illegal these guys that go from here to the United States of America illegally? They bring shame, they say. They bring shame because they don't have to go over there and beg. They can stay here and work. There's a lot of work to do here, but they just don't want to do it. And I'm like, that sounds very familiar. There's a lot of work to do here in America, but they don't want to go do it. And for the same reasons that we have touched up before, people that are getting $1,200 plus in benefits, free health care, they can spend time with their kids. Why would you want to go to work? Think about that. Why would you want to go to work? See, I believe on this healthcare for everybody. I know you guys call it universal healthcare. I believe on healthcare for everybody, but people abuse the system, and that's a problem. For example, there is emergency medical available for asylum seekers. Well, California has made, now don't quote me on the numbers, but California had made this, because they're a blue city, blue state, they had made this budget. I believe it was like a couple of $1 billion to provide services for illegal immigrants. Well, within a couple of days, that was gone. And so they had to raise it to $5 billion in 1 year. And that's gone. The point that I'm trying to make with that is, it doesn't matter how much you think you can help people. If you give people a fish, but you don't teach them how to fish, they're going to keep coming back for you to give them that one fish again. They will never be independent. They will never be able to stand on their own feet. And once you ruin the mentality of hard working pays, you destroy the community. People think they have to go out there and do prostitution. They think they got to go out there and hustle and sell some drugs. They think that this is the only way. Working under the table. They think that's the only way. Well, it's not. It's not the only way. See, I'm a big believer that we should have free healthcare for everybody, but nothing truly is free. I guess the word that I should try to practice on using more is accessible healthcare. Meaning, imagine this. Yes, inflation has gone up. The economy is getting more expensive. I get it. Okay, let's ignore the high taxes in blue states and cities. Okay, let's ignore that. But imagine this. If one of the persons in a family home can go and work their butt off and be able to pay all the bills, electricity, they're able to, insurance, gas, maybe a car quote note or whatever. They're paying for the rent. Wouldn't it be nice if maybe we can help by giving them free, accessible health care because they are working their butt off? Now, we're not taking into accountability. This is the oh my God, this is like such a big thing. But let me stay on point so I don't forget. Okay, so they get that, and they also get some help with food and medical. I think that's a great help. Now, the catch is, with food benefits, it should not be every type of food. It should not be fast food. It should not be cooked chicken. It should be for raw meats, chicken, steak. If you want to waste your food stamps on more expensive items, that's on you. Chicken, steak, hot dogs, cheese, right? There is the welfare cheese, the milk, eggs. Those are the things that you need. Noodles, instant rice, beans, things that you can cook. I mean, this is survivability, right? If you are able to work full time and still qualify for some of these benefits, you have to be honest with yourself, right? You can actually have one of the persons, either the wife or the husband, stay home, watch the kids, take care of the house, etc., whatever it is, right? But you be taken care of. But instead, the way the welfare system works is you cannot be the best that you can be. You cannot go to work, otherwise you lose this benefit. It should be the other way around. You know how many times I question myself? Is for decades I question myself. Oh my gosh, I'm only making an extra $300 working full time when I can be on welfare and have all the time in the world. It is crazy. Why does the government do that? Well, the answer is very simple, right? This is how they control you. You see, as long as you're dependent on the government, you will never be free. Now, I'm not saying that if you get, this free healthcare, accessible healthcare, by working full time, oh my gosh, the pressure off your shoulders. Derek agrees with me, I think. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, the threshold to qualify. It's you got to make such little money. Here, I'll give you an example on something else. So we talk about housing problems, right? There is this apartment community. They had a 4-bedroom. Okay, now I'm looking for a 4-bedroom because I need 4 bedrooms. There is a 4-bedroom apartment. They had it for rent at $2,400. It's a little bit up there, but okay. $2,400 a month, right? We go there, and then we put an application. We're like, please, we got nothing bad on our credit. We're good. We're going to get in here. We're going to have so much privacy. We're going to have a, parking garage, etc., right? And then we apply, and because we make a little bit more money than the threshold that they had, we don't get to pay $2,400. Our price was $3,000. And with that, it put us to paycheck status with no money left for food or medical. That is a problem for housing, because you will think that the housing authority is equal opportunity. Well, when I was a leasing agent, the whole housing authority, all the representatives from the housing authority got so mad at me because I questioned them. They said it's all about equal housing and it has to be fair. And I said, okay, tell me, how is it fair when you raise the price of the rent for certain people and then you lower the rent for certain people? How is that equal? How is that fair? You're going to punish me for sacrificing my life, my family time to get that extra $300-400 a month so that we can take care of our families better? If you have this housing available and you have this rent, the rent is what the rent is. If the government wants to step in and help, then they can make vouchers. But I said, how is that equal? Oh my God, they were mad because I said, you're discriminating. You're discriminating against people that are working 2 jobs so that they can have that extra money. If you give them the same pricing that you give somebody else, then they don't have to work the second job. But you're making it harder for them. You're making it almost impossible for one person to take care of their family. Both parents have to go to work. And now you have to decide, okay, both parents go to work. Well, you need daycare now. You need daycare, right? So you have to, again, choose. Do you want to work your butt off and have no benefit? Here's how it goes. If you both work, you have to pay $1,200 to $1,800 a month, and that's the cheap end on daycare. Not only that, but because you're both working, you don't qualify for food stamps, you don't qualify for medical. So then you have to pay an extra $600 to $700 a month to protect your family with health insurance. Well, shit, that's almost $3,000 right there. And then I got to buy food. Oh my God, that's even more because it's about $800 to $1,000 a month in food. That's crazy. You know what? No, I stay home. I have to stay home because I got to take care of my kids. And then the husband can go to work. However, you want to choose it. I believe in equality, right? Men, women, we're all the same. So that's how the government works. And I think that's why we have a big problem here in our finances. I think it will be great. How many of you guys in here, let's be honest. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are business owners. A lot of you make good money. Some are probably on SNAP. I get it. It's not shame if you're working. It's not shame if you really, really need it and you really qualify. It's okay. That's what it's there for. Okay? I'm not trying to shame anybody. As a matter of fact, we've said that many times on here. Veterans, people that are disabled, people that need the help should get it 100%. And if you're working hard, you should also get it. This is why we are counting on the government to make money, not take money. It is a difference. When the government is making money, we should reap the benefits, not the government. Okay, let's make that clear. How many of you here would benefit if you have a family? How many of you will benefit here by getting $800 worth of food stamps? I know I would. I would definitely benefit 100%. Our food supply here is between $800 and $1,200 a month. And that's not because, we eat a lot. It's because on top of that, not just the food, obviously, but, hygiene stuff, right? Toilet paper, etc. Those are the things that you got to buy. But if you're getting $800 just for food, would that really help you to maybe even save money for the future? Would that help you to put some more money into your 401k? Would that help you to put it into a secure, high interest savings account? I think so, and you can get the benefit of it. Let's see what this person said. Let's see. How many people has literally heard some chilled in the middle of child? Oh, that's a long time ago. American Dream has been dead for at least 15 years. Billionaire bootlicking is insane. The spending power. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and talk about these billionaire bootlicking. And guys, if you are enjoying my talk today, please support me by hitting the like button. Okay? Junior Rojas, you're a grifter. Dude, you are staying at home because you got nothing else to do. Go to work like a real man. Hey, why are you hating, bro? Why are you hating? This is what I do for a living, man. You think my time is cheap? My time is not cheap. My time is not free. My time is valuable. And if I give you my time, you better appreciate it. And if you don't appreciate it, well, you're more than welcome to get the hell out of my channel. How's that? With that being said, if you keep thinking that welfare is the only way that you can come up in this world, you are never going to come up in this world. There's a lot more that I'm going to do with this channel. Let me just tell you that. But just like you don't understand President Donald Trump, how he's working with his deals, etc., you don't know what I'm doing with my time. So just stay out of my business. I'll stay out of your business. As long as you're working, you should be proud of yourself. Now, I believe that if we have government, we don't have government so that they can tell us what to do. We don't have government so they can take our money away. We have government to make sure the cities, infrastructure, that all the social programs that we have, that they are running smoothly. We don't need government to tell my daughter that she's a boy. We don't need government to spend billions of dollars in school to teach nonsense. The school is very basic. Stop it with the side programs. I am 100% for sports. I get that. I am 100% for that. I'm 100% with a little bit of overtime pay, right? Because the teacher's salary is that. It's a salary. But I'm okay with paying a little bit more to a teacher that actually has after school activity to tutor children that are struggling with math, with reading, with writing, etc. The school should only be so that we can learn how to read, write, math, so we can learn how to understand history, geography, science, chemistry, etc. Okay, that's what school is for. It's not there to lie to you about your gender. School should have nothing to do with that. If you believe in science and biology, that stupid nonsense has to go out the window. And they are wasting billions of dollars, not millions, billions of dollars on this agenda that they have for this trans rights and all this other BS that is so immoral in our country. That is waste of money. I believe that schools should be audited. Why did you receive this much money and my child still dumb in school? What's going on? Have you been tutoring? Have you been giving more time into my child? Why do we have so many children in our schools? That's going to be a tough one, but it has to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, it has to happen. You can only have a functioning society when you control population. Now, before you go dark on me, we're not talking about Chinese controlled population. What I mean by controlled population means that we want our American citizens and residents to multiply, to create more patriots for this country so that it can stand up and keep building and keep defending and keep prospering. And the other thing, what I mean by population control is no illegal immigrants coming through our border. We got to clean up the fact that we already got millions and millions of illegals in this country. So now we got to do this. Thank you for subscribing. We got to also be fair. And we have to take a look at everybody. This is where due process is going to come in hand. Now, as far as I see it, we can fit a courtroom with a bunch of illegal immigrants. Forget anybody else. Nobody else needs to be in there. Only the undocumented. Fill the whole room and go one by one right there. Documents. Nope. Okay. Stamp of deportation over there. Documents. Nope. Stamp of deportation over there. Documents. Oh, I see that you, okay. All right. Stamp. You go over here to this side. Stamp to deport, 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 deport. It's fast. That's due process. Show your documents to the judge. Have representation if you want. Show your documents. The document says you're illegal, you got to go. If the document says that you have asylum for a certain amount of time, okay, we will go ahead and give you, that asylum. But if your document says that you were in asylum and the time has expired, you got to go. You got to go. If you have not done anything to make yourself available to become a resident, you got to go. Now, there's going to be special situations, and I always bring out this example of the man that was in Hawaii. He was Mexican. He had been here for over 40 years back when Trump was president the first time. And this man was actually given to the community. Yes, he was illegal, so that they did have to deport him. But he had his own business. There was employees, hopefully everybody was paying taxes, etc. But he was involved with the community. The people loved him and all this other stuff. I think that person should have gotten a chance to stay. A fine, big fine to pay for being here illegally. But at the same time, it's like, let's not deny what we see before us. If the man has no criminal record, he's been here for this long, obviously he's not going to be a criminal. I think that person deserves to stay here. That's just me. And it's not something that I can guarantee that as a governor, oh, okay, you're going to be a citizen. No. That's not how it works. But we can definitely bring it into Congress, and maybe we can change some laws. It's going to be very tough, but we can always communicate with others if we are willing to work You see, you can look at me as a Trumpster, as a Republican, however you want to see me. But the bottom line is this: if you are selected to be a server of the people, you need to be wise. You need to be fair. Will everybody love you? No, that's never going to happen. Some people will hate you, others will love you. It happens on everything. This is why you cannot be, loving two masters, because you're going to hate one or you're going to love the other one more. That's just how it does. That is the nature. Güero, you are illegal. I know you can't vote, but one day, probably, maybe you should self-deport, and then I can request you to come back. Maybe we can get you some green card papers. And then one day, you might be able to vote for re-election of your favorite podcaster here in the Dennis Herrera Show. I know you love me, Güero. That's why you're here with me every day. And I love you too. Okay? But I got to give you shit because you always give me shit. With that being said, I think that there is a lot of talk that we can do about this. And of course, we'll continue talking about it because there's always going to be new people coming in. And all you patrons have been very awesome with me. Thank you all for the feedback. I really appreciate that. Let me take a look and see. I think I had something else in here. Let me see. Try to find it here. Oh, that's right. Here we go. I don't think I have heard the speech here. Let me see. Give sec. Oh my! Oh hell no! We're not gonna play that. Okay. We do have. Let me save this. I think I already have this saved. Let's go ahead and talk about healthcare. I think it says President J.D. Vance is delivering remarks at the Make America Health again. Why don't we take a look at that first? And let's see how that plays out. Hold on, Mr. Vice President. All right, let's go ahead and enlarge that baby right there. And this is from the White House press, I guess.
And its failed leadership over generations. And by the way,
let's see if we can start from the beginning. Now I can pay attention to your comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please welcome the 50th Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance.
Welcome, Mr. Vice President. And I want to thank everybody here for taking this day to convene such extraordinary group of people, a really unprecedented caliber of people who are in this room today. And, one of the great things about working for President Trump is that we've been able to recruit people like Chris Klump and Marty McCary and Jay Bhattacharya and Mehmet Oz and people at every level of the agency, many of them who are stepping away from billion-dollar companies for vision or power.
That's their reception, not mine.
Because you see, this is a generational opportunity to country and put us on that course. And a critical part of us achieving that goal is the partnership with private industry, with the entrepreneurs, the innovators who are trying to do this. And you come out of that, you have an extraordinary life. How do you see it in the parts?
it had to happen. It just had to happen.
I had to fast forward because they were having problems with the signal there.
happen. And if you look at so many of the things that are happening on the public health side, I mean, one of the criticisms that Bobby will always get, and I always think it's such bullshit, excuse my language, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. It's probably covering, I apologize to everybody who's watching live on Fox News. But hopefully they were able to bleep that out. But anyway, is sometimes there's this attack where people say, well, this or that conclusion is not supported by the science, or this or that conclusion is a conspiracy theory. And science, as practiced in its best form, is that if you disagree with it, then you ought to criticize it, and you ought to argue it against it, but you can't shut down the debate. And that really is, if you look at all of the big public health debates that we've had in this country over the last 20 or 30 years, it doesn't bother me that they disagreed with something that I believed or disagreed with something you believed or any of you. It's that they tried to silence the people who were saying things that were outside the Overton window. And as we found out the hard way over the last few years, it was very often the people who were outside the Overton window who were actually right and all the experts were wrong.
Yeah. I had a conversation with Marty McCary the other day, and he reminded me that over the Royal Society, the building, the portal for the Royal Society in London, which is the oldest scientific society in the world and the most prestigious.
Of course.
It says, question everything.
Yes.
And that is, that's what science is. It's recognizing that convention is often wrong, and that the people who make advances on science, almost 100% of the times, are people who are willing to challenge orthodoxies and advance heterodoxies and talk about new ways of thinking. And that, these very ossified bureaucracies that now make up the so-called medical establishment are fortified against that kind of change.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, to put a slightly different spin on it, a lot of the times the people who are discovering things interesting and new are a little weird, right? I mean, American society for a very long time had a willingness to accept unconventional, slightly odd people inside some of these industries, inside some of these bureaucracies. I mean, I've been reading a lot in the past couple of weeks about von Neumann, the Hungarian scientist who came to the United States and was very important in the Manhattan Project. And what I keep on finding myself thinking, I mean, this is a brilliant guy. This is, one of the, I think it was Edward Teller or Oppenheimer or another, the Manhattan Institute people said about von Neumann that von Neumann was talking to his 3-year-old. And then he realized that he used the same skill von Neumann did when talking to a 3-year-old as he did with everybody else, because he was so far above everybody else in terms of brilliance. But then you read about this guy, and I think to myself, half of the shit that this guy said would have gotten him canceled, or would have gotten his career ruined, or would have had his life ruined. There is no way that this country is going to advance unless we're comfortable with people who are willing to challenge orthodoxy. And that's what I think got so broken, not just about the scientific bureaucracy, but probably it was worse in the scientific area than in most other places, is we've got to be comfortable challenging some of these old orthodoxies. And part of that is welcoming people who are a little unusual, because unless you do that, like, you're not going to solve America's problems with McKinsey consultants who say everything the right way all the time. No offense for the McKinsey consultants, because but many of whom are very brilliant people, but like you need the consultant mindset. You also need the person who is just thinking about an idea because it's interesting and it's fascinating and it's not being focused on enough in the right way.
You and I have talked a lot about Appalachia, and both of us come from families that are intertwined personally and politically in Appalachia. You're kind of a golden child of Appalachia. You came out, you went to Ohio State, right?
That's right.
Yale Law School, a successful, uber successful business, a best-selling author, U.S. Senator, and now Vice President of the United States. But it's almost a kind of tragic reminder of the lost potential of almost everybody else in Appalachia, not only for poor health. It's got the worst health data of any region in the country, the highest cardiac disease, the highest obesity, the highest diabetes, the highest stroke rates. but also addiction, alcoholism, and suicide. It leads the nation for those things. And so I know it's something that you've spent a lot of time thinking about. How do we, because if we can solve problems in Appalachia, we can solve them for the whole country.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the public health stuff in particular is very bad. And if you look at where life expectancy has gotten the worst in the United States, Appalachia is sort of at the top of the list. And the way that I realized this, actually, so my dad died of cancer a few years ago. And it was one of these sort of super aggressive cancers, came on very unexpectedly, and then all of a sudden he was gone a few months later. But I was talking with my wife, with Usha, about this, and Usha, she was like, have you ever had like a really important male figure in your life survive to the age of 70? I'm looking, and it's like, okay, my grandfather died at 67 from a very preventable illness, but 67 from a very preventable, very treatable illness. I think all of my aunts or all of my uncles, and not a single one of them that I could think of made it to 69. Maybe one of them made it to 70 or 71. And it kind of hit me that if you grow up in Appalachia, you are used to losing the people that you love very, very early on. And you want to talk about like populism, and you want to talk about people being pissed off. Well, yeah, people are pissed off when they don't have good jobs. And people are pissed off when things disappear and move overseas. And people are pissed off when they feel like, other countries are being prioritized over the United States of America. And all of that is part of the populist resentment of the past, 20 or 30 years in American politics. You know what really pisses people off? When they realize that their loved ones are dying much sooner than everybody else. And that is a big part of the story of what's going on in Appalachia, and why I think so many people in Appalachia feel left behind. I mean, my story, obviously, it's been, like you said, I'm like the golden boy. Things have just worked out for me in this really incredible way. I feel so lucky and so grateful for it. But I also feel a certain sense of guilt, because there are a lot of people who grew up in families like mine who haven't had an easy life, and who haven't had all this economic opportunity, and who haven't had, a person that they've fallen in love with, and they've been able to sort of build a stable, nice family like me and Usha have been able to build. And that gives me a sense of purpose, because I want those people to have the same opportunities that I've had. But it also gives me a great sense of anger, because we never should have gotten to the point that we are today. And the reason that we have is because of failed leadership, and it's failed leadership over generations. And by the way, you talk about Appalachia, you were talking about people who, though they don't have much, would take the shirt off their back and give it to a complete stranger, because that's what you do. If you go back to America's biggest wars, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, which are the counties that filled their draft quotas with volunteers instead of with draftees? It's very often the parts in deep Appalachia where you've got grinding poverty, but you've also got this incredible love of country. So if any place in this country deserves not to be left behind, it's Appalachia. But on the public health stuff in particular, the numbers don't look good. And it's one of the reasons why I'm such a big supporter of what you're doing, because these are people who deserve to live better, healthier lives, but they really have been left behind by this country's leadership.
Talk a little bit about how MAHA has affected you personally. My grandchildren go to school with your children. And MAHA, I think, has gotten a lot of people thinking about how they raise their kids, what they feed them, et cetera, how they go shopping. And then maybe to talk a little bit about the political impacts of MAHA.
Yeah, so there are so many different ways I could talk about this. I mean, one, I just met, Bobby's family backstage, or at least some of them, and I kept on shaking hands with various people, and I'm like, well, you're an Irish Catholic, so it makes sense that you've got, a dozen or so people backstage. But I love that. I love big families. But so one, my wife, she's probably one of the original MAHA people, though I don't think that she would have ever used that phrase, because I remember our oldest son is 8 years old, and when babies typically eat solid food around 6 months of age. And I remember when, he started eating solid foods, and I'm like, awesome, let's give him some cupcakes and ice cream. And my wife was like, no, let's give him carrots and applesauce here. So she was already thinking about health and nutrition in a way that was frankly kind of foreign to me. and that I think is very common among the MAHA crowd. Like, you guys are asking the right questions. What are we putting into our bodies? Where was it sourced from? If we're eating animal-based protein, is it coming from a place where the animals are treated the right way? If we're putting medications into our body, are we actually confident that they're doing the thing that they're supposed to do, that they're safe and effective? I just think this whole thing is about asking very critical questions about what we're putting into our bodies, into the bodies of our kids. And it's really affected me in a very profound way, and how I think about my own nutrition, about particularly how I think about what my kids are taking. And, I'm like one of these crazy people. The one way in which I'm more instinctively MAHA is that if I have a back sprain, or I slept, weird, and I woke up with back pain, I don't want to take ibuprofen. I don't like taking medications. I don't like taking anything unless I absolutely have to. And I think that's another MAHA style attitude. It's not anti-medication, it's anti-useless medication. We should only be taking stuff, we should only be giving our kids stuff if it's actually necessary, safe, and effective. And I think that's an attitude that's really beneficial to the entire country, because we do have, you've talked about this as eloquently as anybody, we do really have an obesity epidemic in the United States of America. I think a big part of that is not asking where our food comes from. We really do have medications that I don't think, maybe they're not solving the chronic disease epidemic, maybe hell, some of them are even causing the chronic disease epidemic. We got to be asking more critical questions about what we're putting into the bodies of our kids. And I don't think we were doing that until this movement came along.
The job of the vice president has been called the worst job in the country. And I think
we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen.
I think for some vice presidents that's been true. And I know that President Johnson, during my uncle's tenure, felt that he'd been sidelined, and I think Spiro Agnew and Gerald Ford felt the same way with Nixon. But then you had presidents like, you had Vice President like Dick Cheney, who seemed to be actually running the country, and then you had these, relationships with...
Not very well, it turns out.
Yeah, we agree on that. But Al Gore and Bill Clinton and Mondale and Carter, who had close personal friendships, you have an amazing job because you have a president who clearly puts tremendous faith in you. He relies on you. He's given you an extraordinary retinue of responsibilities. Talk a little bit about how your relationship with the president has evolved.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And it's clear to all of us in the cabinet how much affection that he has for you and how much he relies on your wisdom.
Well, it's interesting. You're exactly right that the job of vice president is incredibly contingent on the president that you're serving under. And you could have a president who effectively just passes off big swaths of responsibility. You could have a president who delegates. You could have a president who has no trust in their vice president, Kamala Harris, and so it doesn't go very well for that particular vice president. But I think there are two ways that I try to think about my job with the President of the United States. Number one, he requires honest counsel. In other words, if I have an opinion on something, whether I agree or disagree with the administration position, it's really, really important that I talk to the president about it. He doesn't want yes men. And I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have a great relationship, is because you're always thinking about how can I actually give the president the best counsel. But then the second thing is, when the president makes a decision, your job is to execute. It's not to run to the papers and say, well, actually, I disagreed with this decision, or run to the Congress and badmouth the administration. It's to execute. And I think the reason why the president has trust in me is because, yes, I absolutely tell the president what I think about a given issue, but I also recognize I'm the vice president, he's the president, and when the president of the United States makes a decision, it's time to go and get it done. Yep. And I think in part because I get things done, right? I mean, sometimes Congress doesn't cooperate, sometimes the private sector doesn't cooperate. I'm not saying any of us have a batting average of 100, but what I think all of us who have earned the president's trust do is that when the administration makes a decision, when he makes a decision, we actually go out and get it done. And that's that's why this job has been so empowering for me, is because the president trusts me. He knows I'm going to give him honest counsel. He knows that if he asks me to go get something done, I'm going to try my best to actually go and do it. And that's why we have a good partnership. I think that's why the administration has been so effective this time around, is because there are a lot of people with a very wide diversity of opinions, but we get out there and we try to do the best job for the American people and the President of the United States. And because of that, there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of affection in the cabinet. I mean, you've seen this, I've seen this, but when we're sitting in there and the cameras are off, and we're just talking about an issue, there is a deep level of affection and trust between all the senior members of the team. I don't know how it's possible to do this job without it, but I know it's why we've been so successful the past 10 months.
Now we've come to the lightning round.
Great.
Marine Corps workout or Pete and Bobby challenge?
That's tough, man. So it's I would say, I would say Marine Corps workout, especially for me. The one thing, so I can do like 5 dead hang pull-ups. You know, I have longer arms. I'm a little fatter than I should be, and you know, especially like 10 years or so ago, I got a little out of shape, and so it's actually the Marine Corps like physical fitness test has been an incredible guidepost to me getting back in shape. And it's basically you run 3 miles, you do 100 crunches, or now instead of crunches they do it's this weird planking exercise that's a core exercise, and then there's pull-ups. But I felt like that's been a very good focus. The Pete and Bobby challenge is for people who are in as good a shape as Pete and Bobby, which is not yet me, but that's my goal. My goal is to get there.
Who is the funniest guy on the cabinet?
Well, obviously, the President of the United States. Yeah. I mean,
beside him.
So beside him, I mean, look, we all have different views on this. My personal vote for funniest person outside the president is probably Marco.
Yeah, Marco.
He has an incredible sense of humor. He's got great comedic timing.
Rival.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, you know, there are a couple others. Look. Very good sense of humor among the cabinet. There's a lot of funny people. I think Margot is the funniest outside the president.
He says something that makes everybody laugh.
Correct.
At least once during the cabinet meeting.
That's right. Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw this video circulating on social media, but you know, the president met the president of Syria, al-Shara, in the Oval Office a couple of days ago, and you know, he asked him, he's like, "Well, how many wives do you have?" And it's just like, oh, what an amazing question. Amazing comedic timing. There are layers to it. There's like a meta humor to it. It's just, anyway, you know, but we got a lot of good humor in the cabinet.
Yeah, one of the funniest moments in any cabinet meeting, President Trump had them bring in a full-size picture of himself with Putin. And when they were in Hawaii, and he's very tall, and Putin was very short, Putin came up to about here, and he said, you know what I said to him? He said, I've had it up to here with you. Okay.
I remember that.
There are 8 presidents from Ohio. How many can you name?
Oh.
This is unfair.
That is a totally unfair question. I regret coming to this event based on that question. Okay.
None of them, well, with one exception, none of them.
So obviously U.S. Grant.
Yeah.
I have a particular affinity for him. Both of us have beards. Rutherford B. Hayes.
Good.
Was Cleveland, Ohio, or is he somebody else?
I don't think Cleveland was.
Okay, the problem is a lot of the Ohio ones are frankly the range of presidents where nobody can name them.
Yeah, they
right?
all are.
So it's
Except for
like most people can like go up to Jackson, and then they know there's sort of Lincoln and Grant, and then there's like, you know, a black hole of presidents. Those are the Ohio presidents. Please don't judge my home state because it was just it was a different time in the country. So the answer is apparently 2.
Did you read Chernoff's biography of Grant?
I did. Incredible. One of my best friends actually gave it to me 4 or 5 years ago. Incredible book.
It is.
And he was an incredible guy.
It makes you fall in love with Grant.
Absolutely. And people, you know, he was attacked after he died by a lot of his political opponents. A lot of what I learned in grade school and high school history about Ulysses S. Grant is actually fake. He was a great general. He was also a great president.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you all for being here.
So I understand if you don't trust their assessments on the health thing, but I think that is actually very important that we notice one difference, and the difference is that during COVID-19, a lot of people gave President Trump so much crap because of the joke that he made about the bleach. And I mean, to think that adults actually think that was a real thing, and that was very stupid, actually. I don't understand how to help you people, but, or those people, since you guys are all okay here. But, we talked about, the herd immunity whole thing, uh, Dr. Fauci, he he wasn't sure how to deal with it. I remember President Trump shutting down the airports coming flights from China. I remember Trump having to ban travel from Muslim countries, etc. And every time President Trump has tried to do something to protect us, the Democratic side is always coming against him and making them look like the bad guy, when in reality they're just covering their tracks. You know, we learned a lot in COVID-19. And I'm glad that Robert Kennedy is leading MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. Everything on the hearing that they were going off on him, he was right about everything. So I trust him. The whole thing about Tylenol, CNN, NBC, BBC, all these people were giving him shit about it, and they were saying how blah, 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 this is, some made-up stuff. And then we came out with some tweets from actual Tylenol saying that, yes, you're not supposed to take this medicine while you're pregnant. It could be dangerous for your child. And all this didn't say it can cause autism because they will get in trouble. But that is what the science is telling us today. So we're not going to ignore that part. That's just what I think about it myself. So with that being said, let me get back to this other clip that I wanted to show you guys. This is going to be Pete Hegseth. Let me see. The Secretary of War giving his little speech here. I don't know how old this is. I thought he made this before, but this is supposed to be posted 3 hours ago. We'll take a look at that and see what he says on here.
Playbook. And President Trump understands this like no president since Teddy Roosevelt. The motto of my first platoon, and I think there's value, the senator himself served in Afghanistan, led men. There's value to our generation of troops now having an opportunity to lead. I never thought I'd put the motto of my first platoon to good use. But 1st Platoon, Charlie Company, 2nd of the 113th, New Jersey National Guard, Guantanamo Bay, 2004 to 2005. Our motto was, those who long for peace must prepare for war. And our logo was actually a giant peace sign in barbed wire. Warriors have repeated that motto since the 4th century Rome, including George Washington, the first leader of our War Department. And that's why we restored the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War for clarity, not because we want war, but because we must be fully prepared to wage it. And since waging war is so costly, we owe our republic a military that can win any war we fight. And our adversaries have to believe that we're capable and willing to fight and win that war, which is what leads to actual deterrence. That's peace through strength. Should our enemies choose to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence and the precision of the War Department. These are not academic and theoretical concepts. They have to be real. It has to be real hard power, and the enemy has to believe you'll use it in order to prevent them from taking action. And certainly it's not theoretical right now. This feels like a 1939 type moment, or hopefully a 1981 type moment, where America needs to lead and rebuild to ensure that we maintain that peace through strength. Enemies are gathering and threats are growing. We have to prepare now. So if you're putting America first and the roadmap is peace through strength, the third ingredient President Trump has injected is good old-fashioned Indiana common sense. Common sense is back at the White House and it's back at the Pentagon. Common sense means putting warfighting, lethality, as the senator mentioned, training, discipline, accountability, readiness at the forefront of everything we do at the Department of War. That means no more social justice, no more political correctness, no more toxic ideological garbage that infected the department. As I've said before, but we repeat and we repeat because as a good old television host, you know it takes a while for it to actually sink in. No more identity months, no more DEI offices, no more dudes in dresses. No more climate change. It actually was a thing. It actually was a thing. No more climate change worship, no more division, no more delusions, gender delusions or quotas, no more distraction. As the chairman of the Joint Chiefs puts it, Pete, you're clearing out the debris. That's what it is. We're clearing out the debris from out front of NCOs and officers. We're done with that stuff. It doesn't take a PhD to understand that sergeants don't need sensitivity training. But we're taking the next step. We're not just undoing damage, we're solidifying the way forward. We're taking concrete steps to ensure that common sense reigns going forward. We're restoring a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I introduced a golden rule test in a speech I gave at Quantico to a number of generals and senior enlisted. It is, do unto your formations that which you would have done unto your sons. Would you put your son or your daughter into the type of formation you are creating? It's a very clarifying rule. So I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are fat and out of shape, or in combat units with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men in their units. Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high. It's simple. It's colorblind, gender neutral, merit-based. I say colorblind, gender neutral, merit-based. That's what the military should be. Because if they're not standards, then they're just suggestions. Suggestions that get our sons and daughters killed in combat. And that's why I've directed every service to ensure that every requirement and every combat MOS returns to the highest male standard only. One standard across those combat jobs. If females make it, fantastic. Then they're most qualified for that position. If not, then so be it. It's not about what gender makes it into what position. It's are the standards meet the duty and the position, because a body on a battlefield or a .155 round weighs the same whether you're a man or a woman. So in line with POTUS's common sense agenda, the first item of what we're undertaking inside the Department of War is restoring the warrior ethos. So a lot of what I just said falls into the category of restoring the warrior ethos. And it's up and down the ranks. As I mentioned, that speech at Quantico, whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general in the Pentagon, you need to meet height and weight standards and pass a PT test twice a year. I also said we don't need to be in military of beardos anymore. Do you know how many troops claim to be Nordic pagan? No, suddenly it's become like this real fake religious affiliation inside the Pentagon where troops claim to be Nordic pagan so they can grow a beard, and no one challenges them on it because no one's upheld standards for a long time. So now a quarter of the platoon is sporting beards because they're now suddenly Nordic pagans. We're not doing that stuff anymore. The idea is, it's sort of the broken windows theory of policing. There'll be some people that say, well, Pete, why would a secretary care about beards and PT standards? It's the same thing. Well, why would a mayor of New York care about squeegee men or about broken windows? It's because when you let the small things go, you create a climate of criminality. But when you let the small things go inside your formations, you create a climate of a lack of discipline where standards cannot be enforced. And if you can't enforce them on the small things, it gets far more difficult to enforce them on even more meaningful things. And so when commanders and NCOs are not empowered to enforce discipline and standards, instead they're called toxic. Now the entire command structure is flipped upside down. And what happens when directives have to be given in combat when bullets are flying? When you need directives to be clear and you need them to be followed. That's why those things in peacetime matter and they become a reflex in wartime. We're also ending what has become a risk-averse culture. NCOs and commanders no longer have to walk on eggshells, that's the phrase that we've used, for fear of compromising a blemish-free record. You see, blemish-free records are great in peacetime, but they don't work in wartime. So we're overhauling the Inspector General, the EO, and MEO processes so they cannot be weaponized. See, these processes have been weaponized to put complainers, ideologues, and underperformers in the driver's seat. I spent a year writing a book called The War on Warriors before I took this job, where I spent Saturday afternoons at Fox calling members of the military, every rank, every background, every service, asking them what works, what doesn't, what's going wrong in the military. And time again, they came back to command climate. It's impossible to be a commander right now, because the minute you enforce a standard, you're called toxic and someone drops an IG complaint on you and you can't get promoted, you can't move on, and you're not empowered to enforce standards. We're changing that entire paradigm. We're reviewing and flipping the entire IG process. Sure, you still can't be racist or sexist. Like, it's been illegal to be racist in the military since 1948. Those things remain and those things are clear. But officers simply upholding high standards that promote the warrior culture are not toxic. And we're no longer are going to be subjected to drawn-out, weaponized, unfair investigations that are never anonymous complaints that go on for months and they can't do their job. There's a big difference between something that's anonymous and something that's carefully handled or close hold, confidential. And we've worked with the services, with the joint staff across OSW to put in place a process that ensures that you can approach the IG if necessary, but commanders are empowered throughout. So that's restoring the warrior ethos. Number two is rebuilding the military. Our warriors, I mean, as the president points out, and he's right, we have the strongest, most capable, most lethal military in the world, full stop. No one can touch us. But if we're going to maintain that and put the best weapons, ships, and aircrafts and platforms in the hands of our men and women, we've got a lot of work to do, here in Indiana and across the country to get things on time and at scale. So when I think of rebuilding the military, we think of places like NSA Crane. Right here in Indiana, the third largest naval installation in the world. I can't lie. I mean, the first time I met with Senator Banks and he told me about Crane, I said, wait, the third largest naval institution in the world is in Indiana? Okay. But then when you add it all up and you look at the industry and you look at the history, it all makes sense. And then you look at the capability of what's produced here. Crane embodies the warrior ethos, committed to unwavering dedication and readiness in the face of any challenge. Over time, it's become a go-to, as he mentioned, on drone warfare and hypersonics and microelectronics, rapidly transitioning these innovations to the warfighter. We're going to need more places like Crane, and we're going to need them quickly. To achieve the historic rebuilding that President Trump has mandated us to undertake, we have to liberate our bureaucracy and fundamentally change the way we do acquisitions. Seated over here is Mike Duffy. He's the head of A&S, Acquisitions and Sustainment at the Department of War. And from the beginning, he and I have worked together. He and his team have taken the lead in saying, how do we fundamentally transform how we acquire and buy and develop weapon systems? And it manifests in a speech on Friday of last week at Fort McNair, where I spoke to military officers, defense industry executives, members of Congress, and others to announce those reforms. It's been a long time coming, actually. The last time there was a major acquisitions reform effort was Secretary Rumsfeld, and he announced it on September 10th of 2001. Needless to say, many of those reform efforts were overtaken by the events that happened the very next day on 9/11. We're continuing in that lineage, undertaking a department-wide transformation of requirements, acquisitions, and foreign military sales. We're addressing a core function of what we do at the War Department, identifying what our warfighters need, how we buy those capabilities, and then how we share those capabilities with allies and partners, which in a contested world is becoming even more important. You know this. I don't have to tell you this. For far too long, our department's been bogged down by burdensome and inefficient processes, paralyzed by impossible risk thresholds and requirements, and distracted by agendas that have nothing to do with warfighting. And every dollar squandered on redundancy, bureaucracy, and waste is a dollar that could be used for something meaningful. So the objective is quite simple. Transform the entire acquisition system to operate at a wartime or warp speed footing to rapidly accelerate the fielding of capabilities and focus on results. The objective is rebuilding the arsenal of freedom. Rebuilding the arsenal of freedom. American industry and its innovative spirit are begging to be unleashed to solve our most complex and dangerous warfighting problems. By the way, this task of transformation will be a war of attrition. The Pentagon's going to fight back. The bureaucracy's going to fight back. The powerful primes will fight back. And it's our job every hour, every day, every week, every month with our team to return fire, overwhelming fire, and say, no, this is how we're changing the paradigm. We're opening the aperture on speed, on competition, on scale, on commercial first, because the warfighters need it, and they need it now. Industry needs to perceive business with the Department of War from a perspective of growth and assume risk to partner with the United States. We're talking about transformation, not toothless reform, and we're talking about it fast. Because our adversaries are not sitting idly by, and their ambitions and intentions are clear. Now is the time. Here are the 5 overarching transformative pillars for our procurement process. First, we have to stabilize demand signals. We will award companies bigger, longer contracts for proven systems so those companies can be confident in investing more to grow the industrial base that supplies our weapons systems. More and faster. And that's good for big guys, small guys, and everything in between. More, faster. Second, we will prioritize the purchase of industry-driven solutions, commercial solutions that meet our need to be faster, even if it doesn't meet every requirement. It means that we're open to buying the 85% solution and iterate together to achieve the 100% solution, because an 85% solution tomorrow is a lot better than a 100% solution that is never in the hands of a warfighter. It also means there will be no non-compliant bids. Third, we will empower our program leaders with the control, expertise, and authority to direct program outcomes, move money, and quickly adjust the priority of required system performance to deliver on time and under budget. Fourth, we will inject urgency and excellence into the defense industrial base. We're only going to do business with industry partners that share our priority on speed and volume above all else, who are willing to surge American-made manufacturing at the speed of ingenuity to deliver rapidly and reliably for our warfighters. And then fifth, we're undertaking regulatory reform, removing excessive and burdensome FAR and DFARS rules, reporting requirements, accounting standards, excessive testing oversight, and excessively long studies and analysis. Some of the things that used to take us 3 to 8 years through requirements and acquisitions now should take under a year. And we're talking budget cycle speed. Anything that unnecessarily slows down government contracts will be eliminated. So the bottom line is these changes will move us from a current prime contractor-dominated system defined by limited competition, vendor lock, cost-plus contracts, stressed budgets, and frustrating protests, always a protest, to a future powered by dynamic vendor space that accelerates production by combining investment at a commercial pace with a uniquely American ability to scale quickly. We're going to rebuild our defense industrial base into a new arsenal of freedom, which I know is welcome news to everyone in this room. We're committed to becoming a better customer and empowering firms that are ready to take risks, deliver on time, and innovate. So you've got the warrior ethos, rebuilding the military, and finally, of the 3 internal reforms at our department, reestablishing deterrence. You all know for far too long, especially under the Biden administration, the military looked woke and weak, and it invited aggression on the world stage. Under the Biden administration, our adversaries expanded in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, in the Middle East, in what happened on October 7th, in Southeast Asia, and Central and South America. The debacle in Afghanistan set the stage for a lot of it. By the way, we're getting an update again next week from our Afghan task force, looking into what happened there, and we will be releasing that in 2026. Our enemy knew that they could get away with these things because Biden was feckless. The department looked feckless and was. But under President Trump, deterrence is back. After decades of securing other people's borders, halfway across the world, we're finally securing our own border in our own hemisphere. An invasion of over 20 million people from around the world with no idea who they are is a serious and dramatic national security threat. That's why we're happy to support mass deportations as well of our friends in federal law enforcement. But we've also surged our posture to the southern border from minute one to lock that border down. Our goal is 100% operational control of the southern border, and every passing day we get that much closer. Cartels, trafficking, and death, all of it across the border ends. In fact, for the past 5 months, as I hope you've heard, there have been 0 crossings across our southern border. We know who's coming in. Let me tell you, the morale of the troops down there, I've gone down there a number of times to meet with the troops, to be defending our own homeland, securing our own border, in a real-world context with real authorities to do so, partnering with Border Patrol and Mexican Border Patrol on the other side is motivating. Our men and women down there love what they're doing, and that's why we revived the 1918 Mexican Border Medal to pin on their chest when they're done with a 6-month tour down there securing the border. These are not guys, with binoculars who don't have actual authorities. These are, striker platoons with vehicles and optics able to come alongside Border Patrol and assist in arrest of those coming across our border and lock it down. And eventually, more funding will lead to more infrastructure, more border wall, which will require less of a footprint, but even the same amount of a lockdown. We're also taking the fight on the deterrence front to cartels. My advice to foreign terrorist organizations, do not get in a boat. I mean, if you're trafficking drugs to poison the American people, and we know you're from a designated terrorist organization, you're a foreign terrorist and a trafficker, we will find you and we will kill you. No one is better. No one is better at tracking and networking and mapping and hunting than the American military. Honing those skills for many decades in foreign lands. Now we're doing it in defense of the American people with all the authorities. We got lawyers on lawyers. All the authorities necessary to do so, treating these terrorists like the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere. And we're seeing in real time that they're changing their methods and will adapt as they change those methods. But again, another signal of deterrence, locking down the border, taking on the cartels and stopping the poisoning of the American people. A great example as well is Operation Midnight Hammer. What our B-2 pilots did over 37 hours, going all the way from Missouri and back, going into Iranian airspace with, there were 52 refuelers and fighters in front of them, all the maintainers, incredible Americans who maintained the entire thing. But to go into an adversary's country, drop 14 precision 30,000-pound bombs into holes the size of this podium, and then turn around and leave Iranian airspace, and there wasn't a single news article, tweet, or reaction from the Iranian government, gives you a sense of what the American military is capable of. No, it was one of my favorite moments when we're in the Situation Room and we realized bombers are out of Iranian airspace and all the targets have been hit successfully, and the president realizes that he gets to announce it before the world finds out, and he just turned to his assistant, we're all there, he goes, "Get me my phone." And he went, boop, and the world knew. But imagine the power of the signal of that truth, of the fact that the president had said, Iran, you have 60 days, and then on the 60-day mark, bombs dropped on their facilities, destroying Fordow, Esfahan, and Natanz. 60 days to the day, bombs drop. America says we'll do something. We follow through. Iran, he's said from the beginning, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. He gave them 60 days. They didn't comply. The B-2s took care of business. The world sees that America's word matters. Another example of that that's often forgotten is the Houthis. Since, I don't know, would it be Thomas Jefferson? Our ships have been able to sail at the high seas without us accepting interdiction or pirates or those ships being threatened. The idea that freedom of navigation, American freedom of navigation was sort of taken as a given. Until under the Biden administration, Houthis started shooting at our ships, and I don't know, we shot a few missiles into some huts, but didn't do anything about it, just accepted the fact that we can't sail there anymore. And when President Trump came into office, he said, no, we're going to reestablish freedom of navigation. And so we dropped bombs on the Houthis for 45 days until they cried uncle, and now our ships sail wherever we want. That is a reestablishment of deterrence, that you do not tangle with the United States Navy or Air Force or our people. And if you do, you will get the vengeance of the United States military until we get our way and our ships sail freely. All of these things are reestablishments of deterrence that had to be done given the backsliding of what occurred during the Biden administration. Now, we're also reestablishing deterrence, as the Senator mentioned, in the Indo-Pacific and around the world. We're supporting allies and partners out there as force multipliers to strengthen their own capabilities. In March, I took my first trip to the Indo-Pacific as Secretary, and the first trip to Guam in 20 years from a Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War. I've traveled to the Philippines, to Korea, to Japan, to Singapore, to Vietnam, to Malaysia. We are deterring China's influence around the world, not to mention the Panama Canal, where we're freeing that canal from malign Chinese influence, ensuring that American ships can sail freely. We're also increasing the burden sharing of our allies. I think a huge signature of what the Trump administration, what President Trump's been able to do in his first term and the second term is reawakening NATO to their actual mission. You're not an alliance if you don't have capabilities. And if you're not willing to spend on your own militaries and you're dependent on the United States, you're not actually able to step up when an adversary threatens you. Yes, Ukraine was a wake-up call for Europe, but more significantly, it was President Trump saying, you need to pay up. It's not enough just a free ride on us. I mean, what happened in June from President Trump in NATO members committing to 5%, 3.5% of hard military spending and 1.5% in infrastructure is historic. If America's going to have to take the primary burden of what happens in the Indo-Pacific and deterring China, then Europe needs to be prepared to step up in its own continent and ensure that forces like Russia or others are checked properly. It's common sense. You can't be everywhere. And finally, I'll end again kind of where we started with the defense industrial base. Decades of underinvestment and nonsensical bureaucracy and unstable demand signals have left us at a place where we're too reliant on too few, and what we do get is, yes, exquisite, but can't scale. We're just at a point where if we needed to rebuild, as we are right now, the arsenal of freedom, we have to make fundamental changes. So we're revitalizing American industry broadly. President Trump is through his golden age. And at the Pentagon, we are ensuring that we maintain the most powerful military in the world. You can talk strategy all you want about homeland and hemisphere and deterring China and burden sharing. That's all briefs nicely on a white paper. But if you can't actually build the things you need to underwrite it, it's all an academic exercise, and that's why defense industrial base has been a top priority of ours from day one. So we're restoring the warrior ethos, we're rebuilding our military, we're reestablishing deterrence, and we have a president of the United States who has the backs of our warfighters. That's what I tell the troops every time I'm traveling. It's all I ever wanted as a young lieutenant was to know that my commander had my back. At any echelon, when we had to do difficult things in the dead of night, where you make decisions in a split second, you're not always going to make the right decision. But if you're doing it for the right reasons on behalf of the troops and the mission, then your commander ought to have your back. You see that with law enforcement. You see that with Border Patrol. You see that with our troops. When you have a commander-in-chief and a leader with a steel spine who has their back, they're empowered to make communities secure and safe. They're empowered to secure the border. They're empowered to deport dangerous illegals, or they're empowered to close with and destroy the enemy. And that's why a lot of what I've done as well is untied the hands of combatant commanders and allowed them to make decisions at their level to deal with and hunt down enemies of the United States, many of which the American people don't hear about in the newspapers. But it ensures that our warfighters are able to go out and do what they need to do to keep all of you safe. So in this new era for the defense industrial base, we're going to take risks, we're going to optimize for speed, we're going to compete, and we're going to scale. For the firms used to the old way, who refuse to take risks and innovate, we wish them well in their future outside of the Pentagon. But to the rest of you, we look forward to partnering with you to supply our warfighters and rebuild our military. Washington can be a tricky place, but not when you know why you're there and what you were sent there to do, and you lock arms with people who share those same perspectives. President Trump sets the tone. My job, I've got two basic principles. Don't talk to the media unless you have to, because all they do is spin, spin, spin. And then just do your job. Just do the job you have. And the job I was given by President Trump is to be the Secretary of Defense and now the Secretary of War, to deliver on behalf of warfighters. That's it. There's no other games to be played in Washington, D.C. And so when you have allies, and you need allies in that effort, and I'll tell you what you have here in Indiana, in the good Senator Banks is an incredible ally, who we know we can call when tough decisions have to be made, or he has to stand there shoulder to shoulder with us, or help explain the reforms that we're undertaking. It's critical. You learn real quick in Washington who your real friends are, who will actually go to bat, and whose core is grounded in what needs to be done in that moment to advance America first and peace through strength. So, Senator Banks, I want to thank you for being that ally to us at the Department of War from day one. From the announcement to the confirmation to everything in between, to the reforms that we're undertaking, you've been rock solid, and I want to thank you for that. So there's so many defense executives out here who make exquisite and important things that we utilize. Thank you for what you're doing. This ought to be a golden age for you as well. We want you to run, and we want you to run fast. We need you. We will be the most powerful force in the world 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now, because we have no other alternative.
That's right.
There's no one else to call.
No choice.
You've all been around the world and back, and so have I. It's only America. It's only our arsenal of freedom. It's only our military that's going to ensure that the 21st century is a free century and that peace is maintained for the American citizens. It's only us. Now's our time to step up, and I'm honored to do my small part. Thank you very much.
Well said, soldier. What an awesome guy. He is definitely making us proud. My American patriots. We're going to listen to the press conference here.
Days in a row, and it feels like.
Hold on, Carolyn. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here today. We are going to get to my remarks and Q&A as always, but I do have the FBI director with me here, Kash Patel. You all know him well, and he's here to provide an update for you all with respect to China. As you know, President Trump had a very successful meeting on his trip to Asia with President Xi, where they discussed the need for China to crack down on fentanyl production and distribution, which ultimately makes its way here to the United States of America. And the FBI director recently traveled to China following President Trump's meeting to meet with his counterpart in Beijing. And he has a really positive announcement for the American people to share. So the president wanted me to bring the FBI director out to share that with all of you today. So Kash, please, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Caroline. As Caroline mentioned, we have some tremendous news thanks to President Donald J. Trump once again for the American people. As soon as the President of the United States took office, he issued a mandate to rid America of the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Thanks to his leadership and direct engagements with China, we set up a framework to execute that mission 8 months ago. Attorney General Bondi immediately thereafter took steps to engage her counterpart in China at the Ministry of Public Security. Pursuant to their direct discussions, as the FBI director designated to run counterpoint on this, along with the Secretary of State Rubio and Ambassador Perdue and the team here at the White House, we set forward a path to implement the policy needed to crush the plague of fentanyl. Deputy Attorney General Blanche and our teams have been hard at work ever since, ultimately culminating in my trip to Beijing last week. This was only possible due to President Trump's historic engagement with President Xi just a few short weeks ago that set the stage for today's announcement. At that meeting, the leaders reached an agreement. But just to put this in frame for the American people, a reminder here that nearly 100,000 people died of fentanyl overdoses just last year alone. Here, this year, under this president, the FBI has seized 1,900 kilograms of fentanyl so far. That is a 31% increase from the same time period last year. To put it in perspective, that's enough fentanyl to kill 127 million Americans. Fentanyl precursors are what makes up fentanyl. While we, the interagency, the Department of Justice, have been fighting hard to seize and stop drug traffickers, we must attack fentanyl precursors, the ingredients necessary to make this lethal drug. That was the sole purpose of my trip to China, to eliminate these precursors. And if successful, we would suffocate the drug trafficking organization's ability to manufacture fentanyl in places like Mexico. This was the first time an FBI director has been to China in over a decade and received the audience with his counterpart to address this matter directly. And again, thanks to President Trump's direct engagement with President Xi, the government of China committed fully to my engagement there on the ground in Beijing at a level never seen before. While at Ministry of Public Security headquarters, I met with my counterpart at MPS, where the Chinese government agreed on a plan to stop fentanyl precursors. What does that mean? The People's Republic of China has fully designated and listed all 13 precursors utilized to make fentanyl. Furthermore, they have agreed to control 7 chemical subsidiaries that are also utilized to produce this lethal drug. Effective immediately, essentially, President Trump has shut off the pipeline that creates fentanyl that kills tens of thousands of Americans. These substances are now banned, and they will no longer be utilized by the Mexican drug trafficking organizations or any other DTOs around the world to make this drug. This historic achievement has saved tens of thousands of lives. This historic achievement would not have been possible without the tremendous team of President Trump, the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Ambassador Perdue in China, whose ground-level engagements were imperative to achieving this result. This is yet another example of how President Trump defends the American people, provides security for the American people, and puts the American people first. This is a historic first-in-its-kind achievement by any president to stop the scourge of fentanyl, and it should be championed by every single American. This achievement will save lives. We are thankful for President Trump's steadfast leadership, and this FBI will fearlessly follow in his footsteps to ensure that this mission of safeguarding the American public is achieved every single day. Thank you. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you again, Director Patel. Before we get going, I do have one quick scheduling announcement. Tomorrow, President Trump will be joined by the First Lady in the East Room for an executive order signing aimed at expanding opportunities for education, career development, housing, and other resources for young people transitioning from foster care to adulthood. This is part of the First Lady's Fostering the Future efforts, which are a Be Best initiative. In other news, the Democrats dragged on the government shutdown for 43 days, the longest shutdown in U.S. history. But tonight, thanks to Republicans, the White House is very hopeful that this shutdown is going to come to an end. The damage caused by the Democrats with this reckless government shutdown cannot be forgotten. It is entirely the fault of the Democrat Party. Just look at the vote count. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees have missed their paychecks. Tens of billions in wages and benefits were withheld, impacting vulnerable families. Millions of low-income Americans missed their SNAP benefits. Nearly 20,000 flights at airports across the country were delayed due to staffing shortages, causing Americans to miss family events, vacations, and work obligations. According to Airlines for America, an estimated 5.2 million travelers have had their flights disrupted over the course of the Democrat shutdown. And our economy has lost billions and billions of dollars in economic activity over the course of this shutdown, hurting consumer sentiment and crushing the travel and hospitality industries. According to a CBO estimate, the Democrat shutdown could end up decreasing fourth quarter economic growth by 2 whole percentage points. The Democrat shutdown made it extraordinarily difficult for economists, investors, and policymakers at the Federal Reserve to receive critical government data. The Democrats may have permanently damaged the federal statistical system, with October CPI and jobs reports likely never being released. And all of that economic data released will be permanently impaired, leaving our policymakers at the Fed flying blind at a critical period. It's hard to recap all of this without asking a simple question: why? Why have the Democrats put the American people through this pain for 43 days in a row? And it feels like Groundhog Day being up here again talking about this Democrat shutdown. And the answer to that question is pure partisan politics. They started this shutdown with a ridiculous demand to force taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal aliens who broke into our country. Even after it was clear President Trump and Republicans would never force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegals. In fact, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill fixed that problem. The Democrats kept dragging this reckless government shutdown on for weeks longer to boost their turnout in an election, perhaps one may guess. That's because the Democrats are totally captured by their far left-wing base, who only care about attacking President Trump, even if it means hurting innocent Americans in our country. The Democrats' weakness and their unwillingness to buck the fringe members of their party dragged this harmful shutdown on for 7 weeks and inflicted massive pain onto the American public. But let's be clear, the clean CR being voted on today in the House of Representatives that will lead to the reopening of the federal government is what President Trump and Republicans have supported from day one. Our troops, air traffic controllers, and federal employees will be back to receiving their regular paychecks. Families in need will get back to receiving their food purchasing assistance, and the people's government will soon be back open for business. President Trump looks forward to finally ending this devastating Democrat shutdown with his signature, and we hope that signing will take place later tonight. On another matter, I want to address the affordability issue that's received a great deal of media attention this past week, which is ironic because it didn't receive that much attention when Joe Biden was here and inflation was at a record high 9%, the worst inflation crisis in modern American history. And President Trump won a landslide election in part to address the affordability issues created by Joe Biden and the Democrats. And that's exactly what President Trump has done since day one of his administration. Since the first day in office and every day since, the Trump administration has taken aggressive action to fix the Biden-created cost of living issues. The notion that the same Democrats who just shut down the federal government to sabotage our economy, rob people of their paychecks, and also helped Joe Biden ratchet up inflation to 9%, are now suddenly affordability champions, that notion is completely absurd. And it's something only the liberal media would have the gall to push. But the reality is that President Trump and his administration have done so much to lower prices and increase the economic prosperity of the American people. And this president and his team of amazing economic advisors are going to keep working on this issue every single day. In less than 10 short months, President Trump signed the largest middle-class tax cuts in American history, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, which will guarantee that next year Americans are going to put more money back into their pockets. The president has completely unleashed American energy dominance to help bring gasoline prices to the lowest in 5 years, and we expect them to continue to decrease. And it has also lowered energy costs overall. There is more work to do, but again, the president's deregulatory and pro-American energy agenda is absolutely going to continue to drive down prices. This formula worked in the president's first term, and we expect that it's going to work again. And this is key because we know energy costs are the #1 driver of inflation. Again, just look at what Joe Biden did to our energy industry over the past 4 years of his administration, and look at what happened to inflation as a result. Everything became more expensive. To lower prescription drug prices and healthcare costs, the president has been working around the clock on this issue. He is obsessed with negotiating these good deals on behalf of the American people to bring down pharmaceutical costs and drug costs for Americans. And he has done so on a number of fronts. You have seen him discuss that in the Oval Office several times. To fuel small businesses, lower their costs, and incentivize hiring, the Trump administration has already cut 30 unnecessary regulations for every new one on the books, which we know will save employers and small businesses across the country thousands of dollars in regulatory burdens. All of these pro-Trump policies are working, and they will continue to work. Wages are rising at the fastest pace of the start of a presidential administration in 60 years. The cost of the typical new mortgage is down by nearly $3,000 per year. There's much work to do, and this administration will continue to do it. But President Trump has already made great progress in cleaning up the economic disaster that was created by Joe Biden. With that, I will take your questions today, and in our new media seat, we have Bev Turner, who works for a new outlet, a UK outlet, but based here in Washington, D.C., GB News. Bev, thank you for being here today. Why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline. So the clock is ticking on the Friday deadline by which the BBC must retract and apologise for their malicious edit of the president in the documentary shown last year. The recently resigned Director General of the BBC yesterday described the organisation as the very best of society and blamed the enemies of the BBC for this outcome. Also yesterday, a senior government minister launched a fierce defence of the channel in the House of Commons, saying that the broadcaster remains a light on the hill for people all over the world. So, does the president feel that the network is taking the situation seriously? Does he believe that they've shown sufficient regret? Does this strain the relationship between the president and the prime minister? And given that the organisation is publicly funded, is the president prepared to bankrupt the BBC in his pursuit of truth and justice?
Well, thank you, Bev. There's a lot of questions in one there. I will say I know the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Starmer. You have been there. You've seen them in their interactions. You've questioned both leaders in your time joining us when we've gone to the United Kingdom a few different times now. However, he has always been very frank when he disagrees with leaders, even whom he has a good relationship with. And the BBC, being a fair news organization, is definitely an outlet. I think these two leaders would disagree. The president has made it very clear that this is a leftist propaganda machine that is unfortunately subsidized by British taxpayers, and he thinks that's extremely unfortunate for the great people of the United Kingdom and Great Britain. And I think that the president was deeply concerned by the editing, the purposeful and dishonest editing of his speech that was so clearly fake news, and he rightfully dubbed that term many years ago, and this is a classic example of that. We see it in the United States all the time. We see it now in the United Kingdom. As you know, the president's external legal counsel has filed a lawsuit against the BBC. We expect that to continue, and whether they apologize or not is up to them. Thanks for being here, Bev. Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her, And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us. Mary.
Thank you, Karen. 2 questions on this. In the interest of transparency, why not just go ahead, release the full files on Epstein, get this all over with?
This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever. In fact, this administration, the Department of Justice, has turned over tens of thousands of documents to the American people. We are cooperating and showing support for the House Oversight Committee. That's part of the reason you are seeing these documents that were released today, because of the House Oversight Committee's and Republicans' efforts to get these out to the public. This administration also moved, the Department of Justice also moved to unseal grand jury testimony, which we know, unfortunately, a judge declined those requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now, they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown. And this entire thing, again, it's not a coincidence to the American people at home. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C., and it is not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another distraction campaign by the Democrat and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans and President Trump.
But given your interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns? That's a defining factor of transparency, having discussions with members of Congress about various issues. And I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room, in the press briefing room. Reagan.
I have a question about the government shutdown.
Thank you. I'm glad someone does.
First, on the government shutdown, the shutdown deal reverses the administration's reps, and it also prohibits more from happening until the end of January. I'm wondering if the president had input on this element of the deal, and if he's at all disappointed that's going to reverse the downsizing of government shutdown during the shutdown.
I mean, look, I think it's about 6,000 workers total. When you look at that in comparison to the reduction in the federal workforce that this administration has done since January to get rid of the waste, the fraud, the abuse, and to reduce the size of our federal bureaucracy, we've done a lot of great work on that front, and we will continue to. But obviously, the president's main priority was to reopen the federal government and get people back to work, and that's what this deal accomplishes.
There's been reports in Israeli media that the U.S. is considering building a temporary military base on the Gaza border. Can you confirm these reports?
So I had a conversation directly with the reporter who wrote this article, and this article was based on a single piece of paper, an inquiry that somebody in the Department of Navy made about an idea that may happen in the future. And this reporter deemed that as an official plan and ran with a story that the United States is looking into it. I checked with the highest levels of the United States federal government. This is not something the United States is interested in being engaged in. It's not something we are currently involved in right now that we will be funding. And the president has been very clear he doesn't want to see boots on the ground with respect to what's happening in the Middle East. We've made great peace. We've made great progress with the peace plan in Gaza, and we want to continue to see that move forward. But I put a comment in that story for a reason. And sometimes we see reporters take a piece of paper like this and just deem it as official policy, and sometimes that misleads people a little bit. Sure.
There's been a question about UK intelligence sharing regarding the drug interdictions involving benzodiazepines. How will that affect the U.S. military operation? There's been a lot of discussion about the high caliber of the intelligence that has been provided before any of these military actions have taken place.
I've seen that report. Oh, hello. I've seen that report. I'm familiar with the reporting, but we don't comment on intelligence matters, classified intelligence matters, as you know. As for the Trump administration's position on our narco-terrorist campaign in the Caribbean, it is going to continue, and the president has made it very clear he's not going to allow terrorists to bring illegal drugs that kill American citizens into our great country. Sure, John. I'll go to John and then Zolan. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Trump has talked about sending out $2,000 checks to U.S. citizens. Earlier this year, he also talked about sending a Doge dividend. That didn't materialize. Should U.S. Citizens expect a $2,000 proposal? Is the White House committed to making that happen?
The White House is committed to making that happen, yes, and we are currently exploring all legal options to get that done. I don't have a timeline for you or any further details, but I can confirm for you that the president made it clear he wants to make it happen, and so his team of economic advisors are looking into it, and when we have an update, we'll provide one. Solon.
You said at the top that one of the costs of the government shutdown was that people missed their SNAP benefits. Can you explain then why the administration went to court to fight the funding of food stamps and SNAP benefits?
So recipients missed their SNAP benefits because the Democrats shut the government down, and they forced the administration to tap into a contingency fund that did not even fund the full entirety of this program. And so then you had an unhinged judge who was trying to dictate from the bench what the executive branch has to pay for and where that money has to come from. That is judicial overreach at its finest, and so that's why the administration pushed back on that. We can't have the judicial branch telling the executive branch that we need to rob the Children Nutrition Fund, which is what this judge was trying to do, to pay for SNAP benefits. That's completely inappropriate and it's unconstitutional, and we've been proven right with that legal argument. But now the good news is, again, thanks to Republicans and in several hours President Trump, the government is going to be reopened, and SNAP recipients are going to receive their full benefits, which is what President Trump has always wanted to do. Stephen.
Why also did you need the judicial process for that? I mean, during this shutdown, didn't the administration have a responsibility to tap into any of those reserves to ensure that essentially
We did.
people
We did tap into it. We did tap into the contingency fund. And then the judge told us, no, you have to get more money from a children's nutrition fund. And we felt that was judicial overreach. He shouldn't tell the president which fund he has to rob because the Democrats are holding the country hostage by shutting down the federal government. Stephen, go ahead.
Well, if the president is considering a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
Again, he's answered this repeatedly. It's not something he's talking about or even thinking about at this moment in time. I can assure you of that. Stephen.
I've got two questions about New York for you.
Sure.
First,
you always do.
Mayor-elect.
On brand for the New York Post.
Mayor-elect Mamdani, he said that he plans to reach out to President Trump and that, quote, this is a relationship that will be critical. Does the White House have a response to this planned outreach?
It's the first time I'm hearing of it. I'll let the president respond himself to that comment by Mr. Mamdani.
Jack Schlossberg, the grandson of President Kennedy, announced today that he's running for Congress. He, in the recent past, has referred to his uncle, the HHS secretary, as, quote, a rabid dog, and he has said that the Trump administration is, quote, the most corrupt in American history. Does the White House have a comment on this sort of comment from a rising star in the Democratic Party?
I don't even think such ridiculous comments are worth responding to. Obviously, those things are not true. And Secretary Kennedy is doing a phenomenal job bringing transparency and the gold standard of science back to our healthcare system. Eamon.
Thank you, Caroline. The president's hosting a number of Wall Street CEOs for dinner tonight here at the White House. Can you give us the names of the CEOs who are going to be here and give us a sense of what the president's message to Wall Street is going to be tonight?
I don't have a full list for you in front of me, Eamon. I know you've reported on some names, and we've helped you navigate whether those names were truthful or false. But I know the president actually plans to bring some of you into the dinner tonight, so you'll see for yourself in several hours if that's okay with you.
And there's been some reporting that the White House is frustrated with Bill Pulte and the rollout of this proposal for a 50-year mortgage. Can you tell us if the White House is frustrated with that rollout and if the White House still supports the idea of a 50-year mortgage for Americans?
This is a proposal that the president himself has commented on. I would refer you to the president's statements, and it's something that the administration is discussing and seriously looking into. Sure.
Thanks,
Danny, and then go ahead.
Thank you. Some Democratic members of Congress have invited Britain's former Prince Andrew to testify on the Epstein scandal. I was just wondering if President Trump thinks that former Prince Andrew should indeed come and testify to Congress on that?
I haven't spoken to him about that specific matter, but I can ask him and get back to you.
On the government shutdown, the president and House Republicans have made clear they were not going to negotiate health care strategy or policy while the government was shut down. Now, assuming that it reopens tonight, is the president intending to invite any Democrats over to have negotiations over these subsidies or any other plan to bring down the cost of health insurance?
I will just add that, as you pointed out, the Democrats were holding our country hostage to try to negotiate on a healthcare system that they created. Obamacare, as it's famously called, is a system the Democrats created. It is a broken system. It has driven up healthcare costs dramatically in this country. And now they shut the government down to try to fix that system they broke. It doesn't make any sense to us, which is why the president said that's a completely untenable position. However, once the government reopens, the president, as he's always maintained, is absolutely open to having conversations about healthcare. And I think you'll see the president putting forth some really good policy proposals the Democrats should take very seriously to fix, again, the system that they broke. You can't trust the same people who broke the system to fix it, and so the American people will continue to hear from the president on this issue.
Follow up on the question about the $2,000 payments of tariff revenue. The president had also talked about using tariffs to bring down the national debt. Would this be in lieu of that? Like, this is now the new way to maybe to use that tariff revenue?
No, the president put out a statement on this clarifying he wants to do both things with the tariff revenue that he's bringing into this country. Trillions of dollars are expected to continue to pour in. And it's part of the reason that the Supreme Court case is so vital for our country's future, to restore our manufacturing industry in this country, to protect our national security, to continue to allow the president to use tariffs as leverage to negotiate economic deals that, again, are good for our national security. And that revenue can then be used for various reasons, to pay down our debt and also perhaps to give these rebate checks back to Americans, which, again, the White House is exploring the legal options of how we can get that done. Catherine, go ahead.
Viktor Orban said this week that President Trump has promised Hungary some kind of financial shield. Do you have any details on how that will be structured or what that would look like?
I don't, but I'm happy to check with the National Security Council and get back to you.
One more. You recently said you'd check with President Trump about why he needs to get an MRI on his recent trip to Walter Reed. Do you have any more detail on that?
I do, and I'm glad you asked. As stated in the memo provided on October 10th, President Trump received advanced imaging at Walter Reed Medical Center as part of his routine physical examination. The full results were reviewed by attending radiologists and consultants, and all agreed that President Trump remains in exceptional physical health, which I know all of you will see with your own eyes later this evening when he opens up his dinner to the press, and perhaps you will see him when he signs the bill to reopen the federal government. So stay tuned on plans for that. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. And I noticed the comments in here are about prices, food prices, etc. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some information about what we have here in Washington State. Let's see if I got the right link here to show you. Let me see. I got something to show you so you guys can make your own minds about what's happening. Let me see where to go. Man, I thought I copied a damn link. Give sec. So you guys are complaining about prices are high, but I'm going to tell you that one of the biggest differences on prices, it's actually the fact that in blue cities and states, taxes are rising very high. And the reason for that is because Democrats don't know how to run a damn budget. They just tax the people. They use the funds even before they even get it from the people that they're going to tax. They run out of money and they raise more taxes. And before you know it, you guys are complaining on the left side about this big, beautiful bill. You guys don't understand that 47% of your taxes was going to be raised by the end of this year. And if we didn't pass the big, beautiful bill, we would really, truly be screwed. The reason why the big, beautiful bill had to pass is because that would allow us to have more time to negotiate on a better health care deal. Let's remember that Democrats rejected President Donald Trump trying to change the health care, the Obamacare, disastrous Obamacare deal, which nobody can afford. And also, we were being penalized when we did our taxes because we didn't have health insurance because we couldn't afford it. Here in Washington State, we pay over $1 and change in taxes per gallon of gas. How is that even possible? It is ridiculous. And so for you people to come in here and start talking about, oh, the prices haven't changed, oh, the prices are still the same. No, it's not the same. Let me share something from a person here from Washington State. He does his show from We the Govern. I recommend that if you guys haven't seen him, I recommend that you subscribe because you can learn a lot of things from him. He is here from Washington State. And listen to what's happening in our state, not just from my point of view, but from somebody else that has more information than I do. Listen to this.
Into just some of the prep stories that have to do more with the legislative session coming up in January of next year in Washington State. And the story that I think got less attention than it should have is the story here from the Washington State Standard. I'll link to it down below. Basically, this came out just a couple days ago talking about how the money crunch in Washington State government tax receipts, that it's going to put a kibosh on Washington State lawmakers' wish lists, which really what we're talking about here are Democrats in the Washington State legislature who don't believe the world holds enough money to actually fund all of their dreams and schemes with your tax dollars. And of course, this just reminds us the famous quote that was attributed to Margaret Thatcher: the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. Now, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button down below, please do that at your earliest convenience. The more you share these videos with others, the wider the audience for our stories become, and I guarantee that the political class really doesn't want you to see stories like this. So please share these far and wide. Now, of course, many people are waking up to realizing the fact, especially after the recent series of ridiculous and absurd tax increases that the Washington State legislature imposed earlier this year. Now, suddenly, many of these people are realizing, wait a second, I don't have much left after they've taken those taxes through. On top of that, Bob Ferguson's pretty proud that he's passed every single tax that lands on his desk. And of course, it still isn't enough to cover the budget that they just passed a few months ago. And that isn't making him very happy either. And this is, of course, translating into the fact that they are running out of money, and it's far worse than they've represented. Probably this is also partially because you have the Office of Financial Management, not exactly the most competent crew in Washington State government, and it's been eroded over time. People who believe in math are largely starting to disappear from that agency. And of course, this is the same agency that just spent $752 million on a software upgrade program that won't work when they're all done, assuming they ever finish it. So we don't have the world's greatest geniuses running Washington State government, and it just seems to keep getting worse. But this story at least illustrates, I believe, and I'm very glad they at least published a story like this, talking about how there's just going to have to be some adults left somewhere in Olympia to tell them that this is going to change. Very specifically, as quoted in this article, was June Robinson, who's a Democrat senator from Everett. She's on the Ways and Means Committee. So essentially, to whatever degree the Democrats in the legislature are actually going to do their job and write the budget, which is in theory what they're supposed to do, it's actually going to be in Senator Robinson's court to do so. Now, the way they're typically doing it is they let the governor write the budget in December, and then they modify it from there. It's just easier. You don't have to be quite as lazy. And that's basically what they're going to probably do again this year. Her quote was, "We don't have money to pay for what is needed, let alone new spending that members might request." Now, there's other great quotes in there. You can read the article, and I'll link to it down below. But essentially, she's just saying that we don't have the ability to throw a lot of stuff into this budget and add more things during the short session coming up in 2026. Part of this is because of another article that they wrote here a while ago, widely published a few months ago, that projected tax revenues in Washington State are dropping way below what they had forecast, at least $500 million. And the truth is, it's probably going to become more like $1 billion by the time we finally see where these tax returns are coming. In no small part, this is partially because of the layoffs of big businesses. This is partially because of just crazy projections on tax returns that they thought they would get from some of these new dumb taxes that they.
Now, I want to point out, and we've mentioned this many times, if you overtax businesses, they're going to have to. People just say, oh, better wages, livable wages. There is businesses that cannot survive paying livable wages only because the local government taxes the crap out of them. Believe me, here in Washington State, there is a lot of regulating taxes. There is a lot of taxes, believe me. And what they do is they think, okay, we're just going to tax this amount, and now we got money for this project. I just told you earlier. That is exactly how they do it. And then they go and use all this money, and all of a sudden, a business goes out of business. A company ends up moving. And now all those billions of dollars that they thought that they were going to get in taxes, nowhere to be found. That is the problem with socialists. Money runs out eventually.
Fast. And of course, they didn't collect the amounts that they projected because we've hit the half of the curve and it's starting to fall off a cliff, and they don't get the money that they said they were going to get.
Yep.
Now, this makes leftists and Democrats particularly angry because they've been living in a bubble for so long in Olympia where we've just had lots of revenue coming in, lots of tax dollars coming in, even without proposing new taxes, simply as a function of a growing tech environment and basically a friendly environment to locate businesses until these guys have gotten in charge. Now it's getting worse. So they're not happy. And part of the reason why they're not happy is they've been partying forever, for literally over about 12, 13 years now, where every single cycle, no matter what happens, they always have this rapid increase in the budget. So what would happen is they would lay out a budget one year, and then lo and behold, the revenue, the tax returns, would actually be much higher than they'd projected. So the next legislative session, they could come back, and it was Christmas all over again. They could have giveaways and kickbacks to more of their insiders and NGOs and people that can help them on their political campaigns. And this is what they've been doing now for so long that there's very few legislators left in Olympia that even know what it's like to do a budget cut, which is what it looks like they're going to have to do coming up in the next session, at least a budget cut of some kind. So that's why nobody likes stopping the party, and nobody wants to accept if you're on the Democratic.
Julianne, it's easy to think that the rich people can pay more and more and more because you don't want to do your part to get a job and try harder. Let's not talk about schooling or education, because a lot of people go into debt for stupid careers like painting and design, and they don't do anything with it.
Party side, that there just simply isn't going to be enough money left for all of your goofy, pointless, and wasteful grants. And so a lot of their supporters are getting very angry that they don't have access to the free taxpayer cash that they've had so easily in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still squandering a large percentage of your taxpayer dollars on lots of stupid stuff. These are politicians, they're Democrats, and we live in Washington State. We have clowns and crooks running government, and so of course they're still wasting all your money, or a good percentage of it, doing lots of stupid things, and they're kicking a lot of that money out to their friends. But the volume is actually starting to get constrained, and this is when people start to panic, and that's what I believe we're seeing right now. Now, part of this is also, notice there were some articles a little while ago, just over the last few days, indicating that the NGO world in America is actually having mass layoffs. They actually surged 419% just this year alone compared to last year. It's kind of a big deal, mostly because the feds are starting to cut off totally wasteful government entities like USAID and other kickback schemes, and they're digging out a lot of fraud and waste that involves the NGOs all around the country, and that includes in Washington State. One of the good quotes from this article was basically, when you shine a light on $1 billion NGO networks, they scramble, and we're seeing the panic unfold in real time. Burner phones, law firms, and retreat statements. And that also means there just simply isn't enough money to keep the same operation going. So a lot of these, basically, they're just thinly veiled fronts for political action groups. They're having lots of problems right now. Now, obviously, you're going to have a lot of people throwing fits, getting angry about it, going out and making a scene, blaming Donald Trump, whatever it is they want to do.
Yep.
But I don't think they can stop the train that's eventually coming down the tracks, which is that there's just going to be less money out there, and they're going to have to deal with it. Now, in Washington State, we still have a very corrupt governor who, regardless of what he says, he's obviously pathological. He'll lie about whatever he has to.
Yes, and that's the guy I have to go and beat.
He'll bribe dead people to get elected. He'll do whatever he has to do. But it doesn't make it fun for him because he's got some problems. It's not what he was signing up for. He was assuming that the endless gravy train that we've been experiencing in our state was going to last forever. And now it looks like it's not going to happen. Now, if he was even capable of some self-reflection, maybe he would look back and say, maybe it wasn't a great idea to squander literally every penny we had and destroy the business environment in Washington State. But it's probably a little too late for that, and these guys usually don't have much self-reflection. But we're in the situation, and we have to deal with it now. Now, there's plenty of people out there that are probably having a few second doubts about maybe these guys really aren't the best guys to be running the state of Washington. Not when they look at whatever's left in their wallet after these guys have taken it for any and every possible taxing excuse they can find. And of course,
you see what I've been talking about in Washington State, guys? I'm not the only one.
Of course, the other problem is that you have the crazies inside the Democrat Party who basically want everything no matter what. Again, this is a distributed cost, concentrated benefits problem where these guys down here who run the Democrat Party or their NGO networks, they're pretty mad that they aren't going to get everything that they want. And so expect to see lots of fits, lots of drama, lots of meltdowns, and lots of silly virtue signaling bills when we go into the legislative session next year. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. There isn't enough money to cover all the dreams and schemes. They can't cover every single con group that they have out there, and all of these grifting operations, many of them are just going to have to fold. Only the most politically connected grifting operations are going to survive over the next couple legislative sessions. And we're still spending more money than we did last year, but most of that money was actually diverted to union salaries for government workers. So they didn't really get the whole big expansion of government that they were hoping to get. And of course, the capital gains tax that they had promised to get so much money from ended up chasing the wealthy people who could pay it, like Jeff Bezos, who conveniently moved to Florida so that he didn't have to pay it. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. There isn't enough money to keep the party going. Yep. The Democrats are starting to wake up to this reality, and I'm sure it's not happy days for them at this point in time. They can always blame Trump, and that's probably their default position, but that's what we're going into looking at 2026. So I hope that this helps give you kind of some perspective of what I...
Thank you, brother. He actually does a good job. He does a very good job. Very good job. Might be a little bit boring for you guys, but he is right. Now, I will say this. There is a lot of reasons why the economy is suffering. And we'll finish with this last video, guys, so you guys can go do your thing. But there's a lot of reasons why we are having an issue with the economy. One of them is going to be, of course, inflation that goes up every year because population is growing. Now, because of all these illegal immigrants, inflation has gone through the roof too fast. Okay? So there's not enough housing, not enough product, there's not enough of everything because way too many people are here all at once, too fast. With that being said, tariffs bringing businesses back here to the United States of America is going to help, but that's going to take some time before we actually see a big benefit besides all the stuff that we're seeing so far. High taxes from your local government, it's always going to keep the prices up. And it doesn't matter how much the president brings the economy down. Democrats that don't know how to run or manage a budget, and they have all these useless programs for the rainbow people, they will always run out of money, and they will always keep raising the taxes for the people. So we have to change that. The other thing that will make you spin your head around is there is price gouging. There is people that are raising their prices above what they should. And well, why don't we take at this The Price is Wrong, a video from Cairo 7 here from Washington State, and let's see what they have to say about what they found out on this little small investigation. I haven't seen this, but I'm curious to hear what they say.
In groceries. Well, this may seem outrageous, but that sale price you're seeing may not always be the actual price you're paying. But shoppers have been telling us.
I see them almost every single time.
Almost every time you shop, you see something wrong with your receipt.
Well, I've noticed something wrong, yeah.
Now, a Cairo 7 investigation reveals locally what Consumer Reports exposed nationwide.
Maybe it's
why
fake.
sometimes at checkout, the price is wrong. Since our last Cairo 7 grocery store price checking investigation this time last year, a lot of viewers have been sending me examples of being overcharged themselves at the checkout. Some of them noticed a pattern, and we tracked down a local secret shopper who helped us and the rest of the country understand why it's happening at some local stores and what you need to look out for to make sure your price is right. For so many of us, just hearing that expensive beep at the grocery checkout triggers that feeling of strain.
Families that are shopping for 5-6 people.
And pain.
That's several $100s.
Camera 7's Gary Horker investigates why we're being overcharged.
Since our last investigation, when an unidentified store manager shared this with me. How often do you think errors on the receipts happen?
Every third, fourth customer, probably.
Consumer Reports then launched a national expansion of the same kind of investigation, sending shoppers to
Wait, that's blue states. Oh my goodness. Huh. Well, I wonder.
26 Kroger-owned grocery stores spanning 14 states over the course of 3 months. And one of the stores they tested was this Fred Meyer in Bothell. And they randomly recruited a secret shopper who actually shops here all the time.
I call it my home away from home. I'm there so much, it's embarrassing.
Betty Johnson says she's always loved her Fred Meyer. They know you, and you love these people.
Yeah.
To the point where she just couldn't keep her mission a secret. You told them you were spying on them.
Oh, yeah.
What was the assignment?
Walk the aisles and look for sale tags that were expired and document what you find. Yep.
And Betty documented every step on her iPad.
Bingo.
Betty and the other secret shoppers started noticing a pattern.
This is one that was way out of date.
Betty saw way down there in the fine print the expiration date on the sales tags were often days or even weeks old.
If I found a section that had been missed, pretty much every sale tag was expired.
So pistachios tagged as $1 off or $2.50 discount if you scan that digital coupon, were charged the full price of $4.99 because the sales tag had expired. Now, by state law, the customer's entitled to the marked price even if it's out of date. The people were looking and making a decision on whether or not they're going to buy that item was not only expired, that price had gone up.
It had reverted to the regular price.
Which was higher.
Yes.
The entire 26-store Consumer Reports investigation, including Betty's, revealed expired, inaccurate sales tags on more than 150 items, from dog food to coffee, from cashews to cough medicine. The investigation revealed the average overcharge was 18.4%, and that's an average of $1.70 overpayment per item.
They're so short-staffed that the people who go in to do the pricing changes, they can't complete their job.
Staffing issues that came up repeatedly as the chief culprit.
Derek Kravitz of Consumer Reports led the investigation, and even he was surprised at the amount Betty was overcharged.
In that one shopping trip, it was 11.
She was overcharged for 11 items in one basket.
In one basket.
So there are a lot of pricing errors that are happening.
Tad O'Neill is senior counsel of the Consumer Protection Division of our state attorney general's office. He enforces our state's consumer protection laws.
It's a very successful program here, and we're very proud of the results.
Tad says if a retailer doesn't charge you the posted or the advertised price, even if it's by mistake, it's still legally regarded as a deceptive business practice, and that's a violation of state law. His department is here to help shoppers hold stores accountable.
You can scan your documents, you can email them to us, you can actually come down to our office and hand them to us as well.
But let's get back to Betty, who noticed a big difference after the Consumer Reports investigation. They've made improvements, right?
It was perfect. last week. And over the weekend, I went to the Mill Creek Silver Lake one. It was perfect.
We went back to the same Fred Meyer. We checked every aisle, including all the items Betty bought, and we could not find a single expired tag anywhere.
You're all right.
We found the same price experience at 2 other Fred Meyer stores.
Did this investigation make that difference?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's anecdotal, but late today I got a response from the union representing the Fred Meyer workers, UFCW 3000. They told me better staffing makes a better customer experience, and after that Consumer Reports investigation, they say Kroger started pulling extra workers from other departments, specifically to check the accuracy of every price tag in the stores to make sure every single one was indeed accurate. I have not heard back from Kroger. I will let you know when we do. And we've been covering this topic for months.
So there you go. There can be problems, price gouging, etc., and you're going to find all these things that happen. That's just how it is. So I've been talking about this whole thing all the time, and people don't want to listen. They don't want to believe me. So there is more than just, the tariffs. It's affecting everybody. Oh, the pricing. Oh, the groceries are not going down. Well, you know what? If you're not paying attention to what you're buying, that can be a problem. But that's not your fault. I mean, grocery stores should be, on top of it. They should be, make sure everything is updated. But it doesn't happen all the time, as you saw. So we're going to go ahead and take a listen here at Noam, which is going to give us some information about the most recent bust.
The arrest of over 150 illegal migrant sex offenders in Florida, thanks in large part to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who authorized state and local officials to help immigration enforcement. Joining us now is Secretary Kristi Noem. Good morning, Madam Secretary. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Lawrence. We're doing great. We're making America more safe and secure every day, and that's a wonderful mission to have.
So let's talk about this operation, because this is stunning. This is a win not only for the administration, but also for the country. How are you able to nail these sex offenders? That's not easy.
Oh, Lawrence, our partnership with Florida is absolutely amazing. This operation was called Operation Criminal Return. I call it Operation Dirtbag, because these individuals were sex offenders, but not just sex offenders, they targeted children. So sexual assault, battery, attempted homicide, these 150 individuals will be gone off of our streets. Our kids will be safer, and this partnership with Governor DeSantis in Florida is a model that we want to replicate across the country. These individuals should have never been in our country to begin with. The fact that they were sexual deviants and perverts, and now we've gotten them off of our streets, it's remarkable, and we need to do more of it.
So, Madam Secretary, you guys also surge resources into Chicago. But now you guys are moving on from that Operation Midway Blitz. You're going to keep some folks still on the ground. And you've already seen some success there. Homicide is down 16%. Shootings are down 35%. Robberies are down 41%. That's why I'm surprised to hear these comments from the Illinois governor. Let's play it.
The people of Chicago have deserved better than having CBP and Greg Bovino in this city. But I would not say that we're now going to be free of these terrorized neighborhoods. And we'll have to continue to protect our neighbors and our friends and our families. Donald Trump doesn't know anything about Chicago. He still thinks, Chicago is someplace that's on fire, like he says about Portland. The man is demented.
Madam Secretary, what's your response to that?
Now, before she responds, I find it very interesting. Crime is down, meaning that it wasn't before. That's what I'm getting from.
Well, Governor Pritzker's personal attacks against President Trump puts his people in jeopardy each and every day. I'm just so thrilled with the results that we've had in Chicago, and we're going to surge more resources there. We're not going to just be in Chicago. We're spreading out to other cities and continuing to do our work. I won't talk about specific operations, but we're not going to give him any relief from his political rhetoric. We're going to be in there defending these families. The significant difference that we've made in public safety in Chicago is something that we need more in many more cities. So I'm so thankful for Border Patrol, thankful for ICE that they get up every single day and they go into these dangerous situations and they protect people, put their lives on the line. Lawrence, I don't know if you've heard the statistic, but they've had an 8,000% increase in death threats against them. We've had shots fired at our officers. We've had hits put out on their heads, but they get up every day and they go do it. And remember, they live in these communities. They want to protect their neighbors, their family members. That's why they do what they do.
So now that you guys are getting the bad guys out of the country, there's this debate, even amongst some conservatives, about the legal path and the visa process. Some of the people that don't want to be citizens, but they want to have visas. I want to play this exchange between the president and our own Laura Ingraham yesterday. Let's play it.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
So, Madam Secretary, it's not just these visas, it's other visas of people, look, that want to come to the country. They don't even necessarily want to be citizens, but they're hardworking. What is the administration's position on these visas?
Now, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists and organizations that hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens because we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons. The Biden administration let thousands of terrorists into this country. They opened the southern border. They abused our asylum programs, abused our protected programs and visa programs, and we fixed all of it. It's remarkable what President Trump has done, and it's because he's a great leader. He's a visionary, and this man is going to go down as a legend in history as our greatest president ever.
Madam Secretary, how do y'all make the determination on enforcement? Because you got some folks that had clearly broken the law when they crossed the southern border, but they're not the worst of the worst. And you got farmers and ranchers. You're hearing it from all over. You're even hearing it from some of my friends in ICE and Border Patrol. How do you guys make the decision on who you guys are going to target with these operations? Because that's a big debate right now.
Oh, we do the same policies that we've done for years. We do investigative work, information gathering, we build a case, and then we go out and target those individuals that are committing horrific crimes against the American people. And when those people are brought into justice and who they're hanging out with, and individuals are vetted that are around them and with them in apartments or on the street to make sure that those individuals should be here as well. This Trump administration has consistently targeted those criminal illegal aliens and will continue to do that. In fact, 70% of the people that we've encountered and arrested have criminal convictions against them or charges that are pending. The fact that those individuals are off our streets today is remarkable. Thousands of gang members, thousands of cartel members, and thousands of known and suspected terrorists have been interdicted and brought off the streets. Every day I talk to victims' families who are just so grateful that every single individual that we pull off these streets that commits crimes against them will hopefully protect another family from having to go through what they did.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. You know, I have people that say this, you know, these people are telling lies and this and that. I'm on my other chat. And, you know, even when I give people a personal experience, they still says it's a lie. It's like, how the fuck are you going to tell me what my lie is if I'm telling you a personal experience that I witnessed myself? You can't tell me that's a lie, bro. If I'm living it, how are you going to tell me it's a lie? What are you, some sort of wizard, knows everything, a little sidekick? I don't understand, man. Let's go ahead and listen to Will Kane. This guy, I've been saying stuff about Mamdani, and I think he's going to have a guest on this show. Let's take a listen to see what he has to say about what's happening here in our country. If we can put audio on.
Next guest has a warning for New York and the country about Zohran Mamdani. He calls Mamdani a Trojan horse for the Red-Green Alliance. We first introduced you to this alliance months ago on this show. It's two groups you'd think have very different philosophies, but they are united in their distaste for the West. The red is Marxism. The green is Islamism. The Middle East Forum describes it as, quote, an alliance of convenience between leftists, including progressive, socialist, and communist on the one hand, and on the other hand, Islamists, Muslims who actively pursue the political goals of Islam, such as Islamic supremacism, and the punishment of those non-compliant with Islam. They went on to say, what commonalities bring these two disparate collectives together? Both leftists and Islamists hate Western countries and Western civilization, especially the United States of America. Joining me now, the son of the founding Hamas leader, Mossab Hassan Youssef. Mossab, thank you for being with us here today. First, let's just start with this. With your background and your knowledge, the Red-Green Alliance, it doesn't make any sense. How could a socialist furry marching down the streets of New York have something in common with, perhaps, Hamas? So how does it work? Is it real?
Actually, they are opposing forces, and the reality is that we have been invaded. Today, we don't need Trojan horses to invade or to infiltrate our borders. We have been invaded through the internet. The communist countries, North Korea, China, Russia, they have been working around the clock to flood our internet, our social media with their propaganda. So they paved the way. They created the climate for somebody like Mamdani to come and represent their ideologies. On the other hand, also we have Qatar, we have Arab oil countries, we have Pakistan, we have other Muslim countries that basically posing as white people, as Americans, and they have been spreading Islamic indoctrination through the Muslim Brotherhood, through other platforms. Now, the average American really does not understand the green and red danger. This is the job of the CIA, of the FBI, intelligence services. They understand this danger. Now, the new generation of Americans, they really don't know the history, the long war between capitalism, or let's say the United States, the West, against communism, and the real danger of such a model. Now, these two models, the Islamic and communist models, they're anti-American at their core. And they want to push America in the backseat. And they want to change the world order. This is what they are aiming to do. Now, the new generation of Americans don't see this bigger picture. They think that every other country is just like the American model, that people demonstrate their freedoms. They don't see that these two models are failing models. And at best, what they can offer is a tyranny, a dictatorship, a totalitarian system. They can never succeed in representing a transparent democracy. And to import such ideologies to the United States means...
So I just want to ask you this really quickly. I see that the two sides have a common cause in destruction of the West, Western civilization, the United States of America, even if they do have very different visions of what rises up from the ashes. But while you said a Trojan horse isn't necessary today, you still have described Zohran Mamdani as a Trojan horse. Explain.
Yes, well, basically, had he not used the Muslim and the socialist cards, I would have not mind. If he represented himself as an American first and as an American last, I wouldn't mind. But the thing is that he is using such dangerous ideologies that contradicts with the spirit of New York, posing as the savior of the city. Well, the city is perfect the way it is. It's a perfect city. It's the most advanced city in the world. Okay, every city has its own problems, but this is the jewel of the Western civilization, and there is nothing like it. So he's coming to pose as a Muslim who wants to save the West. From what? From what? This is his hypocrisy. If he really cares for his people, why doesn't he go and build the Muslim countries, you know, where it's failing, where there is barbarism, where there is nothing close to New York City or to the United States. But he's coming to something that's completely developed, and he's posing that he's going to integrate it into something greater.
I'll tell you, Mossab, I would love to ask this question. I would encourage you, if you ever have the opportunity to interact with Zohran Mamdani, and I would invite him onto this program at any point. I would love to ask him exactly what you present. Nice. What is his vision? What is his model? Where is the society that he envisions having been implemented on this earth that he would like to bring to New York City? And I'd have that a very open, curious question for Zohran Mamdani. In the meantime, for much of what we've talked about, if you're curious, Mossab has written a new book. It's called From Hamas to America. I encourage you to check that out. And I appreciate the time that we had. I think we deserve a lot more time, and I hope to see you in the future.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Hassam. Appreciate you. You guys already know about him. He's been, he has this movement of telling the truth about Hamas and these bad Muslims that want to destroy America. But I'm going to go ahead and share something from our friend Brandy Cruz, which has recently seen the light and taken the TDS pills. And so now she is reporting more openly against the leftist lunatics that we have here in Seattle, Washington. Now, the reason why I'm going to share this is because, you know, I've been telling you guys a lot about taxes and how blue states and cities keep blaming President Donald Trump for high prices and everything. Well, take a look at this. This one, she's talking about high taxes led to an explosion of illegal food carts. I wonder what that means. Let's take a listen. She's very bright, by the way.
This past week about illegal food carts, like outside games and stuff in the stadium, just selling dirty old non-refrigerated meat. Yum. So what happens, you know, what is the consequence, basically, for running one of these illegal food carts? Here's King.
It's against state law to sell food without a license. In 1974, King County made it so inspectors can write you a $250 ticket for violating this. I asked the county, how much in fines have they collected? Their answer, none.
If you're not going to cite them, yeah, they'll go home, whatever. They'll come right back, and they do it every time.
They said they have not been able to use fines to deter unpermitted mobile food vendors.
Okay, so that's how easy it is to run one of these carts illegally. What does it take to run one of these carts or a food truck legally?
For this taco truck,
a business like Sergio Garcia's,
that's my book for license,
needs up to 5 licenses or permits.
All this is my license and everything. That's a big book
to sell food legally.
My permits.
Money per year do you pay to follow the law?
Some more than $50,000.
$50,000 in fees, including taxes and insurance.
And these guys, meanwhile,
says nothing, not pay nothing.
That is the problem. The problem is not that the illegal guys don't have to pay anything, or the fines aren't sticking, or the fines aren't being issued. The problem is how difficult the government makes it to run a business legitimately.
Any questions? Any questions? That's what Democrat socialists do. They try to explain. They say they fight for the middle class, for the small business. Bob Ferguson ran his campaign on fighting for small businesses and the middle class. Bull crap. He has done nothing but to raise taxes every single time they bring a new tax bill to the floor. He ran the campaign that he was going to bring $100 million to give for police officers so that we can have more police presence on the streets. That was a lie. All the promises that they have made to the Washingtonians here in Washington State has been a lie. What is the problem with illegalities? That is exactly the problem. Those who follow the law, those who really follow the law. You notice he's Mexican or Central American. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't tell his accent. But he's obviously following the steps, the law, the rules, and all this stuff. Over $50,000 just to do business. That sounds like a mafia ring to me for a freaking government. Unbelievable.
$50,000 in fine or in fees, likely bookkeeping, insurance to make sure that you can sell hot dogs or tacos outside of one of the stadiums. Is it any wonder in the world that people choose to do it illegally? And that is a theme of really so much of what we've been talking about this week. Now, I would argue for just general deregulation. And it's up to individuals to walk up to one of these things and decide, does that look like it's going to make me sick tomorrow? And if it does, well, they'll know not to go back again. Maybe a little regulation's good. One of those little things that's got a rating for cleanliness, where there's a sad face if it's not clean and a happy face if it's clean. I like that. But that is really the story here. It's not that the government isn't doing enough to shut down the legal carts. It's that the government is doing too much, is asking too much of the people who want to do it legally. There is no way in the world it should cost $50,000 to run a taco truck.
No way.
There is no reason in the world it should cost $5,000 to run a taco truck in terms of government permits and regulations. And I'll tell you what, if you made it less expensive, less burdensome, less regulated to be able to run one of these, a lot of those people who are doing it illegally would do it legally. Now, there's another issue here that I just have to point out because I don't think some of the news organizations in Seattle are going to notice it, let alone cover it. There's a small clip in this King 5 story that stood out to me.
I think we started out with like 3 or 4 that were doing hot dogs. Then pretty soon we got to where they were taking up the whole entire block.
Yeah, guys, can't understand what he says, but listen closely. Let's play it one more time.
I think we started out with like 3 or 4 that were doing hot dogs. Then pretty soon we got to where they were taking up the whole entire block.
Started out with 3 or 4 hundos. Where have we heard that phrase before? Hondurans. It's short for Hondurans. That's what they call them on the street.
Keep it down.
We've heard it from our friend Andrea Suarez and other people who are deeply involved with the homeless situation and trying to fix it. And we've heard about them from Andrea Suarez of We Heart Seattle in the context of Hondos, Hondurans, who are slinging fentanyl on the streets.
I resent that. They're selling drugs. They should be in jail. Shame to those guys that bring my country of birth that kind of shame.
I think the chances are very, very high that the hundos that he's talking about there, that guy sells kettle corn outside the stadiums. And he's talking about the hundos that come in and set up these illegal food carts. I think the chances are very, very high that they are the same hundos who are connected to the individuals who are dealing fentanyl on our streets. And they are probably in the country illegally.
Maybe.
They are probably in the country illegally. So if we're really concerned about them taking away business from people who are actually licensed to do this and selling food that's making people sick, man, what's a quick way that we might be able to get rid of them? Because the $250 fines aren't working. Well, I think ICE, there's a pretty good chance that if they go down to the stadiums, that some of those people running illegal food carts and getting in the way of the ability of other individuals, many of whom are immigrants themselves, and people of color who are trying to do everything the right way, I guarantee ICE would find people in the country illegally. Oh, but we can't do that. That's mean. So this is how the situation would play out. ICE would go down there. They'd probably find out there's a bunch of illegal Honduran nationals who are slinging, unrefrigerated hot dogs and meat. They arrest them. They send them to the detention center for deportation. And Seattleites lose their minds. Oh my God, how could you do this? Even after weeks of coverage about how these individuals are ruining business for people who are here legally. And by the way, if you get the Hondurans off of the illegal hot dog cart game, I bet you'd also cut down on the Hondurans who are downtown 3rd and Pine and in the Chinatown International District slinging people the fentanyl that they're using to kill themselves. So we can't do it, no? Because what do we start the show with? Virtue signaling. Virtue signaling matters way more. So it's like, okay, like I'm giving you a surefire way to stop this.
Well, she definitely made the point, and that is exactly why we need to support ICE agents. Listen, they can sell that food back home. They can sell that food back home. One of the things that has come across over here in Seattle, Washington, has been illegal immigrants that have been, especially from cartels, have been infiltrating Antifa headquarters and little gatherings that they have. I don't know about headquarters, but little gatherings they have. They do have a building that they meet on. And they have been caught selling drugs to homeless and then making homeless people go out there and sell the drugs for them. So that is a known fact over here. I think that I'm going to have to take a drive down in downtown Seattle. I'm going to have to do a lot of walking, but I want to see if we see any of this kind of things happening. I refuse to believe that I will find anything like that in the daytime, and I am not going to put my life at risk doing that at nighttime. I do not want to have to pull out my firearm to defend myself walking in downtown Seattle or on the dark areas of our downtown. So it is crazy. It is crazy. I will say this, though. I don't know why they're selling meat, because the best food that they can make, it's non-meat. Like, for example, there is baleadas. This is a flour tortilla. If they know how to do the tortillas right, oof, everybody will be hooked on it, and very fat. But all they need is beans, sour cream, and you can keep that cold with the ice block. Eggs, eggs won't go that bad for that long. You can keep them warm with a warmer. You don't even need the eggs, but just the beans, cheese, and sour cream. Honduras sour cream, not the American one. That sucks. But there is other things. You can fry banana chips. You can cut cabbage up. All that kind of stuff. That's a lot of good food that people love in Honduras. And if you want to sell that Honduras stuff over here, that's the way you should go about it. You shouldn't be trying to sell some meats that is going to go bad. You gotta think for the health of the people as well. Otherwise, you can go to jail for maybe food poisoning somebody. And on top of that, you go to jail. You find out you're illegal. You get deported. Etc. So the main point of that, guys, is not really just about the illegal immigrants, doing those cards. It's the fact that there is way too many regulations. Now, when you think of regulations, don't think of regulations as a policy, as a rule. Regulation means money. Taxes means money. Cost of doing business, tax. Your income tax. You still got to pay taxes on the money that you make for yourself besides the investment for the business. Yes, you can, deduct some things on your tax report, on your tax returns, but that doesn't mean that you're making money. The more money they make, the more money they take. That's just how it goes. So that's where I'm at with that. And I hope that this video today was actually some sort of enlightenment. I've been on live for at least 4 hours. I do have to take a break. However, I want to thank every single one of you guys for coming here with me today. We will touch a little bit more about what's going on around us. So, guys, if you have been with me all this time, I thank you very much. Thank you guys for the subscribes. We're almost at 11,000. Very, very surprised, actually, that I'm even at 10,000 so far. You guys are amazing. Thank you for, keep telling the truth. And I know some of you guys are very skeptical right now, but I'm sure that with time, we'll be able to get our truth combined and proven. I would like to invite you guys, if you think that anything that we say is a lie, please go do some research. Find out for yourself what's going on. And then go take a look at it for yourself. Here in Washington State, I'm telling you, prices have dropped big time. But as soon as the new taxes kicked in, prices went back up. And that's not the only one. In the beginning of 2026, there is a new tax that's going to kick in, and then we're going to see a lot of spikes on groceries, more on gas, more on because of the transit that they have over here. You'll see there's a lot more taxes that we haven't been charged yet. They won't start until 2026, and that's when people are going to start crying about it. But I can tell you right now, you heard it today, November, no high prices have come because of tariffs here in Washington State. Has all been local taxes increases, and then also price gouging from certain businesses. Next year, a lot of taxes and regulations are going to be kicking in, and that's going to be equaling about $12 billion in the next 4 or 5 years. So who knows? We'll see where we're at. Guys, if you've been watching, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, you all be blessed. You guys take care.